Welcome, guys. Welcome. We're going to be playing some Field of Glory Kingdoms today, and just going through a few different bits and pieces. So we'll sort of just get into it. And if you've got any questions at all about the game, please sing out. There is always a black screen, a fairly long black screen between Alt tabs. So just be aware of that. It does eventually come good, I think, from what I was testing before. So it's, yeah, there we go. We're back up and running. So this is going to be Field of Glory Kingdoms, of course, which is the, like essentially the full-blown sort of strategic game rather than just a tactical game of using the Field of Glory tabletop as a bit of an inspiration in terms of how it sort of then works in to sort of create like a major campaign in around the excellent tabletop system, which is Field of Glory. Field of Glory Medieval, of course, is the more the tactical side of things, and you can switch between the two. So we'll sort of look at that a little bit in this particular one, but we're mainly going to be looking at Field of Glory Kingdoms, and so that's where we sort of are. There is like a thing we can import and export back out into Field of Glory 2 Medieval, and I'll go through that as well because there's been some improvements recently about that. By the way, my name is DasTactic, so yeah, welcome to the stream. And as I said before, if you've got any questions about the game at all, please sing out, and I'll do my best to explain what's going on, because it's a very detailed game. It's more detailed than it looks, actually. There's a lot of things going under the hood. What we're going to be doing today, though, is I think we're just going in the scenarios. I think what we do is just move across and play the grand campaign. And there's different campaigns which have got different time frames, different sort of lengths. So there's certainly some sort of shorter campaigns, but you don't need to play the full. This one here, for example, is for 440 turns. Each turn is 6 months, so it goes for 220 years essentially, from 1054 to 1274. So essentially through the High Middle Ages, and you can play as almost anything. I'll just do a quick sort of rundown as to what that can be, and the way that the game balances things. It does a great job of actually balancing between a single, small little holding somewhere, or or a major empire. There's constraints and ways that things move to make it so that it's very playable no matter which sort of way that you end up approaching the game. Some of them are hard, of course, to do the certain starts. But anyway, let's just get into it. We'll just go select. By the way, there's little tips down the bottom through there. So the edit button allows you to select specific buildings for construction. This, so anyway, we missed what it just said there, but essentially it's telling you all sorts of little fun tips. I will show you where they are because they're extremely valuable, and it's good to sort of know exactly where they actually do fall. So we'll have a look at that as well. I'll try to do a bit of an intro into how to approach the game, how to look at different things. And today what I've decided to do is to play as Wales. And the reason for that is that Wales has recently undergone a change just in the last month or so. And so Wales is it's under the remarkable factions under through here. So it's not one of the major factions. Don't worry about that though. Like it's, of course we're going to be right next to massive old England. But they're just about to have some troubles of their own, I would assume, because of the Normans. You can see the Norman army down through here has got 120 combat power, ready to go, 14 units. So the Norman army is essentially, we're on the precipice of war, where we've got the Norman invasion of England. England itself does actually have like a lot of different troops and a lot of different petty kingdoms, I guess, was sort of all together as England. They've got just small groups, like 5 units there for the main English army. Only 3 units back over through there. Another 3 units back up in this other side. Wales is sort of is on the periphery of all of this, and we can run into troubles once the Normans sort of do arrive, so we have to be a little bit careful. But Wales does have its own advantages as well. So with Wales, I won't sort of go through all of this type of thing, but essentially we've got like a fairly large army of 15 units, but our power is very, very weak. So we'll need to build that one up as well as we sort of play the game. So anyway, we'll play as Wales. Let's just get into it, and then we'll start to sort of just go through I'll be doing a bit of a deep dive into how things actually sort of do work in the game, so hope that doesn't bother you as we sort of go through it. I know that some people like games where there's a high degree of pacing going through it, but this is one of these games, it should be sipped and not gulped, if that makes any sort of sense. There's a lot of games like that, actually, particularly these historic type games. And so we're going to be sipping as we go through playing as Wales. We're not going to be sort of rushing our way through it. I'll try to explain as much as I can. And my knowledge with this game, I'm not an expert with the game, but I do enjoy it. And so I know enough to be dangerous, but not enough to really understand all the really fine nuances that do happen under the hood in the game. And there's a lot of them. Okay, so let's just have a quick read of Wales. So the context: Wales in 1054 CE was a mountainous country in the western part of the British Isles that was never fully Romanised, allowing it to preserve its Celtic culture. Though never fully unified, they managed to resist owning only a nominal fealty to the Anglo-Saxon kings to the east. So the mountains and the hills of Wales sort of protect it. And that's a feature of how we then come into the game. So there's very unique things in the game, much more in depth in that sort of sense than any other sort of medieval type game. This all changed in 1066, while the Normans managed to quickly overrun most of England after the Battle of Hastings. Due to cultural differences and their propensity to revolt, Wales proved to be a tougher nut to crack. Rather than spend precious men and resources that were needed badly elsewhere in England and in France, William I opted to incentivise his vassals to deal with the problem. The Marcher Lords were Norman barons who were granted landholdings on the border with Wales. These fiefs had no defined western borders, and it was understood that any Welsh lands they conquered would be theirs to keep. Now, the Marcher Lords and the Marchers, the Welsh Marchers, essentially is sort of what has changed in the game, just in very, very recently. One of the big changes with that has been that Wales was its own marcher sort of kingdom, like a petty kingdom, like almost like a duke. But that's actually now been raised, and so it's now a petty kingdom, which makes Wales much more viable to play because what it does do, it increases the authority of Wales, and so Wales is a bit more powerful than what it was previously. And that's the reason I thought it might be fun to play as Wales, because it's now not a powerhouse by any stretch, but it's a petty kingdom rather than a march. I'll go through how that sort of works as well. Over the decades, Wales was gradually absorbed by these independent warlords until in the late 13th century, the only Welsh kingdom that remained was that of Gwynedd in the northwest. Helped by the rugged terrain in the area around Snowdonia, the Welsh there were still quite formidable defensively, and it took a final great royal effort by Edward I to eventually extinguish this last ember of Welsh independence. As a gesture of conciliation, however, Edward designated his eldest son as the Prince of Wales. There we go, in 1301. I didn't know that. Having promised the Welsh, I know that the Prince of Wales was going to be whoever the heir was going to be, having promised the Welsh that their new prince would speak no English, a tradition that continues in the British monarchy to this day. There we are. We won't go through all the gameplay bits and pieces, but there's always sort of like advice on how to play things. We'll just sort of muddle our way through. So anyway, that's what we're going to be doing. We're playing as Wales. So if we just go back and if I just deselect the ownership overlay, we do then get a fairly clear indication of the terrain that we're sort of dealing with. And Gwynedd is back up to here. So I'm going to butcher the names, by the way. So if you're Welsh or know Welsh, don't rely on my pronunciation. Or if you don't know Welsh, don't rely on my pronunciations of anything at all. So I've got Gwynedd back and through here, which is, you can see down at the bottom of that little tooltip, it says mountain. And so this is a mountainous region. And then we go across into here. Then we've got hills essentially surrounding us down through this other side. That's all we control is these 3 plus Anglesey. And Anglesey is a plain. So Anglesey is very easy to raid, very easy to attack because it is a plain. And I'll go through the differences with how the game sort of models terrain, with what it does actually do in terms of the combat. So whether it be a plain, a mountain, or a hill, etc., has a big bearing on how things, how defensive or offensive you can be in certain terrains, and we'll certainly have a look at that one through there. When we have a look back and through here, we do have one vassal. This is Duberbath. Again, a Duberbath. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one either. And you can see there, this is actually a march. So this is actually a marcher lord type thing in through here, whereas we're actually a petty kingdom. And this is the change that's actually come. We were a march as well. I might maybe just very briefly touch on these things as we go. So if we go into the actual national panel, back in through here, and then have a look at the stable petty kingdom, which is what we now are, this is the change. I think if we age back to like if we regress through the system, I can then sort of maybe we have a marcher. There's duchies. It may not go back to marcher. I don't think it will. Yeah, it just goes back to county essentially, back through this other side. If we just close that one and just go back in there again, have a look at. So we're a stable petty kingdom. One of the great things with this game, there's so many aspects to the game that are really, really interesting, but the way that it sort of controls that balance again between empires and counties, whatever it might be, duchies, marcher lords, for example, you can play as that one marcher lord in the south there. It's controlled through this government system, which is really quite interesting. And so what happens is you are trying essentially to ascend. So we're a stable petty kingdom is how we start the game. And with that one, we're in the Western feudal state and through here. So we have a food bonus and a character force pool bonus of +1. There's other aspects which we'll get into, which are also beneficial to whichever faction you're going to be playing of. There'll be factors that impact what actually does happen. If we can get enough points to ascend, and authority is what we use. So the more authority we can get, the more chance we have of then ascending to an ascending petty kingdom. And when this one happens, we then get different. You can see there, it's interesting. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. We get a loyalty bonus of 5, so the country becomes a little bit more loyal. But then, and we get, the other bonus we have that's positive is we have 2 extra characters in our pool of characters that we can then sort of deal with inside our court. But we then actually have revolt risk increased by 15%, stewardship penalty of 10%, and authority penalty of 15%. It's harder to manage once you actually start to ascend. And so once we then go through, if I click on that one through there, that one then becomes the one that we're then dealing with. And we can then move up into a young kingdom. So rather than being a petty kingdom, we can then become a young kingdom. From a young kingdom, we can then become a stable kingdom. From a stable kingdom, we can then become an ascending kingdom. Eventually, we can then go into like tier 3, which is then a young monarchy. And so we can start to sort of build up. There's a lot of progression and regression as well. Like from there, we can regress back. And you can see there, actually, if we go back, sorry, that was stable. If I go into young monarchy, to go back into here, this actually does end up to go, like if we regress from a young monarchy back to a stable kingdom, there's actually a civil war that comes along with it as well. So regions with less than 75 loyalty may revolt against your government. So there's so many different mechanics in the game that really have a very high degree of how things meld and impact things that do actually happen. But this is a very, very cool system of being able to control something extremely small, and we're in a smallish area that we're sort of controlling through to something really large, like the English kingdom, for example. So there's a whole lot of different aspects there that we can sort of have a bit of a look at. Hi, Heart of Mithril. Hope everyone is doing well. So that's a bit of a summary as to what we are. Now, other things that we need to look at. We do actually have, if we have any sort of like events or warnings, we have a warning through here. And there's a lot of things that are randomly generated every time you play the game, so don't expect the game to be the same every single time. Typically, buildings will sort of be the same, and so will certain characters, but then you're going to have like a court system that will be randomized. You'll have some buildings are randomized as well. So I'll have a bit of a look at all these different things. We're going to be focusing a lot on buildings today. By the way, actually one of the big impetuses for this particular video is actually I will Alt Tab out. I know it's always a bit dangerous to do this, but I'm going to Alt Tab across And so anyway, I'll just do a bit of a summary through here. On Steam, of course, you can pick up Field of Glory Kingdoms on Steam. It's definitely a great little game. If you do actually have Field of Glory Medieval, then they do hold hands and work together in a certain degree. But one of the big reasons for doing this is that Slytherin has put out like a series. I'll just see if I can click on that one just to get it. Hang on, that's going to be the ad. There we go. We'll just skip the ad. But Slytherin have put out these videos, actually, which are really excellent. And if you're into history, so these are sort of a lens on Snapshot, fairly long intro on these. But these are like medieval medicine. So you've got these different, there's now 4 in the series. And I don't know if many of you have seen this one. Hi RNG God, how are you going? But these are really, really interesting videos. Like if you're into history, they're definitely worth watching. So I thought I'd actually mention that because this was the reason that we're sort of doing the this particular stream with the game today. And the first four of the snapshots are all to do with medieval medicine. And so you can sort of see Lens on Snapshot, Medieval Medicine, episode 1, 2, 3, and 4. And things, for example, I don't have a full list there, medicine and astrology in the Middle Ages. We've got what's the role of monasteries in the Middle Ages, and it's fascinating, actually. I love history, I've got to say. I absolutely just love... I sort of get, this is going to be hard to explain, but I sort of end up seeing I realised just how limited my own understanding of the passage of time sort of is, in history. Like it really does. A lot happens in a passage of time that you don't really sort of get a feel for, and I sort of tend to lump a lot of history all together in one sort of big package. And it's these sorts of things that make you realise that over the course of a few hundred years, a lot changes, and this little series certainly does present that in a very, very cool way of being sort of just able to focus on different changes over the period of the High Middle Ages in particular, with the way that sort of medicine in particular has changed and the way health has changed. So anyway, that's the reason that we're sort of looking at this one. It's definitely worth having a look at those snapshots if you are interested. What I might do is I might just throw the I'll just put the playlist in the chat just so you've got it there. There we are. There's a playlist there. So you can see the actual four videos, but they're only very, very short, and they are very, very good. And they've got Claire Keenan, I think her name is the historian who presents it. Does a good job of that as well. So definitely worth having a look at that one through there. Anyway, let's go back to the game, and but that's I just wanted to get that one through. Now, please don't spend too much time in this black screen. So RNG God is saying, I got Fog 2 complete insanely cheap not long ago, but I've not gotten to it yet. You have to get to it. The actual full experience, and I will play one of the battles out at least in Field of Glory Medieval, just so you can see the transition between everything. When we first come into a game, though, so what we're going to be looking at is the Slytherin have put out this series of videos that deal with the health aspects. Really, the first one is medicine and health, and I guess superstition around health in this particular region. And what we'll find is that we're going to have different buildings. There'll be different buildings across the world. By the way, with the actual game, I didn't show this at the start, but really you have an incredible range of countries you can play. Right from the Middle East, really just touching on the edge of India, all the way through, into the Byzantine kingdoms or empire that's in there, through Italy, up through the German principalities, up into the Norse regions. So you still got sort of like the remnants of the Viking era is still sort of kicking along at this time, through of course Great Britain and the United Kingdom type thing, but also Ireland as well, which has essentially is still also suffering, or not even suffering, but it's still got the effects of the Viking era. So you'll often find that the different types of armies will be very, very very reflective of the history that came before it. yeah, RNG God is saying, oh, my region in South Sweden is there. Yeah, so with the, there will be, now these will tend to be playable all the way through. Like, you've got the different Danish kingdoms, you've got the Norse kingdoms, Petty Kingdom of Sweden. Now, when you see Petty Kingdom, it means it's playable. There are some that aren't, and because they just were too backward at that time. For example, this is this is Prussian Petty Chiefdom. A Petty Chiefdom is not really playable because they really weren't using the sorts of armies that are interesting to use in this time. So Prussia itself, even though it exists as an entity, is not actually a playable entity. And I did actually ask about this because I was thinking, I would have thought that would have been a popular one for people to actually choose, with the Teutonic Knights and things like that. But these are before the Teutonic Knights. And so the Teutonic Knights, if you wanted to play that one, you sort of probably more want to be playing around in this sort of Polish or German sort of kingdoms in through here. So there's a few in through here that you just can't really play, just because at this stage their military aspect is just not quite there. But there are certainly there's a lot that are, and certainly all of the Norse kingdoms can be played as well. So there's a massive scope, and it's what's really quite interesting about this is that when you start to play a region, you learn so much about that aspect of what type of units were sort of coming back through in that particular region. Like in our region, for example, like when we first started the game, I did sort of show that you would have remembered that or hopefully remembered that the Normans, the Norman army that was building up, was on horseback. And so it was essentially like early knights, whereas the English kingdoms were mainly sort of huscarls, so they had sort of like big like foot soldiers, heavily armoured. Whereas when we look at our guys are very lightly armoured, and back in through here, and you can see there that we've got 15 units, combat power of 70. Maybe we'll have a quick look at that now, actually. So maybe we'll just get our army sort of sorted. So this is actually our army. So when I click on an army, it then sort of shows up in through here. Now these are the same sorts of armies that we're going to find also in Field of Glory, Field of Glory 2 Medieval. We'll have similar sorts of things. Like if you play as one of the Welsh, if you play as the Welsh in that game, you are going to have the same sort of mix-up, where it's mainly going to be these early javelin men back in through here. So a lot of skirmish support units. We do actually have some Brythonic foot in through here as well, and we then actually have noble cavalry coming back in through this side as well. So we've got like one group of noble cavalry, so very limited with our cavalry, and then we've got some sort of medium foot really in through here. And these are just levied, so these have got low combat power. If I go and if I press Control, I can then sort of see more detail about what they do. And so there is actually there's a lot of information in this game, like a hell of a lot. I wonder if I'm going to be in the wrong spot here. I might just move where my head is. Actually, it's going to go black again. Just try to pick where it's going to be. Yep. So that's I'll just see if I can do that. Just bear with me. Just unlock. I think if I place my head up there somewhere, that should be relatively safe, I think. Okay, so just lock it back in and just go back to the game. Wait for it to load up. That way, at least we can then sort of see the gamut of what's actually going on. So so with the different groups, if I press Control, I can then sort of see different things that are actually in through here. I might explain a little bit about how these work as well, because there's a lot of detail. There's so much more detail in the way that the combat is done than in games, for example, like Crusader Kings. But Crusader Kings excels more in other areas, like, for example, the interplay between individuals. So this is a very different game to Crusader Kings. So I'll just have a quick look at the comments in through there. So RNG guys saying the bundle also came with Fantasy General 2, which has taken up my time. Yeah, that's a cool game. Beamstone saying, yeah, good stuff. They're incredibly good to watch. They're really quite engaging. And Beamstone saying they've not dared to handle the Byzantine Empire. Yeah, no, that would be overwhelming. I'll show you how we can manage things, because we have to do a bit of management as well. So Andrew got saying, heck yeah, nice. And Severson saying, I actually gave lands to the Teutonic Order in my current game in Spain. not enough vassal cards and managing lands far away nets massive control penalties. Yes, exactly. They will nicely convert the lands to Catholic faith, and I can then gobble them up later. Yeah, that's cool. Like, you can do so much in the game as well. Like, and what Sev is then referring to is a thing called local authority, which we also have to be aware of. And we'll talk about. Hopefully, we'll talk about all these different things in this session. But we'll get to it. We won't be playing too many turns because we do want to do a bit of a deep dive. So anyway, our armies consist of different types of units, and you'll notice that there's like a yellowish noble, like where it's got noble cavalry. There's like a yellowish symbol to there. It says cavalry standing army unit. A standing army unit is one that you have as your core unit that you don't release when you're not at war. So the standing army unit is a professional army unit. Then we go across into these sort of more silvery type things, and you'll see that this is infantry, and then it's got levy. A levy is raised essentially as required. They don't really they're easy to raise. They don't cost a hell of a lot of money. They do come from your population, so you can sort of raise them and drop them as required. So if you ask, and it's really, it just comes down to what the expense is of the actual units that you actually have. And I'll go through how to check that when you are playing the game, because what you want to be doing is not having too much of a drain from the army from your coffers, and you do actually have like a retinue allowance. Then we come back across into these. These are also levies, so skirmisher, levy, and a support. These are support units. Support units are very different to where we've just got infantry. This is a skirmisher but support unit. Support units are there to support your frontline troops, and at the moment we've got 5 frontline troops, and we've got a mountain of support units. And so the support units are more lightly armoured, and so they've only got a combat power of 3 as an example in through here. I don't know why they've split that into 2 different groups. Maybe they just didn't quite fit in that particular group. If we have a look at this other, this is our vassal in through here, the Duabath army, and so if we have a look at him, he is just full of these light javelin men. He doesn't have any core troops really, and so he is going to be fairly easy to defeat if someone actually attacks him. We are as well to a degree. Now the way it sort of works in terms of Field of Glory Kingdoms, when you actually fight, the frontage is really super important. So what you want to be doing when you're going to be fighting in an area is that you can see that if I go into, like, I've got Powies selected in through this other side. With Powies, actually, if I just go back and deselect this one through here, Powies is this first little circle in through here gives you the terrain that you're fighting on. So Powies is a hill. It's rough. There's a terrain defense of 1, which is actually fairly substantial. So anyone defending on a hill will get 1 extra defensive roll on their dice, and the frontage is 10 with a flanking there of 2. Now the frontage is the all-important aspect when you're fighting in Field of Glory Kingdoms. You really got to look at what you want to go into and how that's going to then impact the frontage. So. And we'll come back to this in a minute, but at the moment we're on a frontage of 10. The one I want to be attacking is this little independent group, Morgan Wig, down through here. Again, I said I'd be butchering all these Welsh names, but this is a independent fiefdom in through here. It's an enemy towards Wales, so it's sort of something that we do want to be taking over, and it will also then enhance a lot of other things that we're then going to be doing. So this is going to be our target, and we can see that this one is also a hill. All hills in the game will have the same sort of thing, where the terrain defense, so when we attack into that area, the defenders, because they're defending a hill, do get a bonus for that. The frontage again is of 10 with 2 flanking. This is what this allows is that you need to have 10 core troops at least, sort of to make full use of the terrain. And so if we have a look at our combat units, we can see that we've actually got 15 units, which means that we've got more units than the frontage. But ideally what we would like would be to have 2 of the flanking cavalry to be in that flanking, so 2 cavalry and 8 of the infantry back in through here would be the ideal for attacking into a hill terrain. So that would be what we'd be wanting to have in our main armies. That would be then the 10 frontline troops, and then 10 support troops to aid each of the actual frontline troops. You'll see it when we get into combat, but that's sort of how the game will then work. In this case, though, we probably are even okay where we are, but we want to be building our army up to make the best use of those sorts of things. And so you can see there with 15 units, we may actually have a bit of an expense that things are costing. If we go and just press Control back in through here, you can sort of see, I'll just go through how this all then sort of works. So these are skirmisher, they're levied, which means that they can be sort of raised and dropped fairly easily, fairly quickly. They're a support unit, which means that they're not part of that. We don't want to use them in part of that frontage when we're going in. Combat power of 3, which is made up essentially of an attack of 3 and a defense of 3. So that's very, very low attack. So these are not very strong. They do have a city defender bonus of +1. So if they are defending cities, they do sort of work a little bit better with that as well. They've only got 1 hit point, and the way that the hit points work is you've got like the hit points are sort of like your life points, and the effectiveness essentially is you think of it like morale, and so we'll get into the combat with that one. So we've got 3 effectiveness, 1 hit, essentially meaning we've got a total of 4 hit points, essentially, that it then has in combat, which is fairly weak. Level 0, so there is a progression, and so it does need to get, over time, the XP will then sort of be built up, and it will then actually sort of be able to be a little bit more effective when it goes into combat. It's got a ranged attack of 4, and so the 4 in this instance is its support ability. There is actually a ranged phase, and these actually do have a role in that ranged phase. They've got a ranged defense of 3. The maximum range, the maximum range is 0. Maximum damage is 1. So they only do sort of very light damage. Siege value is 0, so they're very, very poor at conducting sieges, but their siege resistance is 2. Now this actually has a bearing when we are actually trying to pull down fortifications before we assault a fortification. There's a lot of numbers with what we do, but once you sort of get past the numbers, you really get a feel for the structure of your armies and the armies that come against you. It's sort of pretty cool when you sort of do get that feel for it. Flanking of 1, so it does actually have a flanking role if we need it to. So we can use these as flankers. Food usage of 0.4, the upkeep money is 3, manpower of 6, and it's got a movement of 6, a base movement of 6. It's a good skirmisher, so extra fatigue margin of 3 against the enemy, so that's handy, and it's hastily levied down the bottom through there. So you can see that there's a whole lot of different aspects about this particular one, like it's got less abilities because it is just a levied type unit. So Radio Biology subscribes, so thank you very, very much for that one. That's great. So anyway, that's sort of what these little light javelin men do. So there's a lot of detail. So getting a feel for your army, even though we're looking at and thinking, there's only 3 types of units that we've got available, but there's a lot of nuance in what we can do with these units. So this one here, for example, the Brythonic Foot, what's good about these? Let's have a look. So we can see through here, combat power of 7. They've got an attack of 5, a defense of 6. They're slightly more defensive. They've got a city assault bonus of +1, again, to hits. They've got an extra hit point above the other skirmishers. Again, level 0, range defense of 4, siege value of 2, and siege resistance of 2. Now, when we see that sort of like that negative, I'm not exactly sure what the negative is in there for. I think it's just because, I'm not sure actually what that is. I'm not sure. There's a lot of things in this game that I don't know what they actually are. It uses more food than the other ones that we saw there. Now, you see through here upkeep, and it's got in brackets retinue. And so this isn't costing us anything. And so what we actually end up having through here is the money is 0, the metals are 0, manpower 4. If it's part of your retinue, it essentially means that you get to keep it for free. So we can have a standing army. And I'll go through how to find what that actually is. But if it's a retinue unit, we don't worry about the cost of it overall. It normally would be 6 money and 1 metal to maintain this particular unit, but it doesn't cost us that. And similarly, if we go back across to the noble cavalry and have a look at this one through here, this one's got a better combat power. It's got a city assault penalty of -2 and city defender penalty of -2. These are not designed to be, fighting in the cities. This one's got 3 hit points and 4 effectiveness, so it's got essentially 7 overall hit points in through here. Again, level is 0. You can see there that the XP is much lower. This is the little nuances in the game that is worth sort of knowing. But this is a standing army unit. This is designed to be trained and improve over time. So at only 10 XP to sort of go to the next level, it's going to be going up and leveling up faster than our levied forces. So we need to get like a standing army of better quality units ultimately to do well. Range defense of 4, which is sort of typical. Siege value it's not great in sieges. It does have 3 flanking points, so these are your ideal flankers for when you do go into combat. And you can see through there the food usage is 1.2, but the upkeep is 0 money. It would normally cost us 15, no metals as well, and no manpower. So, and it's got a movement of 8. It does have some extra abilities like charge. If the unit charges, will raise the combat value by 1. In addition, the melee. Now, a charge is a different type of flanking maneuver, which we'll see when we get into combat. In addition, the melee loser suffers this extra damages, but it's only active in open, arid, and steppe terrains. So, not really where we're going to be fighting, unless somehow we end up fighting back in Anglesey, because even the terrain around us is still hilly when we get into England. So we're not going to be really making use of charges. And we've also got steady. So ability level of 1, 25% chance per level to not receive the first damage incurred in melee. So steady prevents effective loss while armoured prevents hit loss. So so steady essentially is going to help with that. We've got the hits of 3, effectiveness of 4. It will then help protect the effectiveness of the unit, but not the actual hits of the unit. So anyway, we'll get into that when we get into combat. But these sorts of these standing units are what we ultimately want to have as a core. Now we can see there, this is a retinue upkeep. This one is a retinue upkeep. All of those, if I hover over them, are retinue upkeeps. If I go through these, you'll see some of them are retinue. And then as I sort of scroll up through, at that point, they don't. They switch back. Some of these are retinues back and through here, and some of them aren't. So so is that one? No, that's not there. So what's a retinue? How does it work? If you're playing any of the factions, you're going to have essentially a retinue allowance. So the way that you find that is you go into the nation panel. And you go essentially to your summed abilities. So this is where you sort of find out what this one actually is. And you'll notice that if you scroll down in this right-hand column, these are all the different abilities that you then end up having. A summary of all the different aspects that comprise your kingdom. In our case, we have a retinue allowance of 10. So we can actually have 10 in an army that we don't pay for. And then anything over that 10 we pay for. Now, certain units cost a lot of upkeep and other units don't cost much at all. If we are using mercenaries, we always pay. So if we end up with mercenary units, they're not part of our retinue, they're extras and they do cost us money. So current number of standing army units is only 1. So we need to raise this one up. And the maximum number of standing units is 10. So these little 3 things at the bottom through here are the factors that we need to be aware of, and so we need to address that. So how do we address it? Well, we actually can go and build different units. If we just go back and click on the region again, so Powys back and through here, you'll notice that there's like one of these things will be a unit queue to build different units. And if we go and click on that one, and depending on where you are in the throughout Europe and the Middle East, you're going to have different types of units that you can recruit, and they'll have different abilities as well. And so what we end up having through here is we actually have the Brythonic foot, so we can build them no problem at all if we wanted to. So we can build more of those, but these are always going to be just levies. So we've got infantry levy back and through there. We also have Irish mercenary Ostmen. These are powerful, even more powerful. These are sort of like the remnants of the Norse. You can see their Norse scales, many with two-handed axes, and so these actually are Irish mercenaries. These are a different type of unit again. Like so, this is a heavy infantry levy back and through here, but essentially it's an Irish mercenary, and so the mercenary is going to, in fact, there it is, Provincial unit, Irish mercenary. Click for more details. Yeah, well, that's what we're sort of looking at in through there. But that's the so this is actually something where the cost is going to be higher because they're mercenary, and so in this case we've got like an upkeep of 12, and like so it's a high upkeep essentially. To see this one's still saying levy. I'm surprised at that actually. It's sort of for heavy infantry levy. It should be heavy infantry mercenary. I would have thought. Maybe I've got that one. Maybe we can actually levy these, even though these are mercenary. Yeah, I would have thought. Actually, it's not really sort of showing it through there. I think we can actually build these ourselves in that case. So that would be cool. If we could levy some of these in. We might do that actually. We might go and add one. So these have got an attack of 8, defense of 7, 3 hits, 3 effectiveness, range defense of 5, siege value of 2, siege resistance of 2. So these are pretty cool. Why don't we just throw one in, and if they do cost us money, we'll then sort of get rid of them. I thought that was going to be like a bit too much for us, but we'll see how we go. We do actually have manpower back in through here, but we won't do it just yet. We'll do that in a minute. There's our early light javelinmen back in through this other side. Again, this is a skirmisher levy, and then we actually have noble cavalry, but we can't recruit that yet because we need to have a different type of structure. We need to have a fortified manor, fortified village, something like that to actually be able to build it. Now we're just trying to build it in this one little area of Powys back and through here. Let's go back to our capital and see what we can build in here. So in the capital, yeah, we've got the Brythonic foot. We now actually have the Irish mercenary Ostmen back and through here again as well. These ones are, this is actually quite different. You can see down through here that these are heavy infantry mercenary. So this is interesting because this is actually where if we do go and buy them from here, they then are mercenaries and they do cost us. But we can build them natively in Powys. So we can levy them in here if we wanted to. So this is actually a bit of a bonus for us. And so we will actually do that. But we can't do it from in here. And so from here, we're actually hiring mercenaries, which is then going to cost us a lot of money. So if our money was positive, we'd be able to do an awful lot there. But in this sense, we can't. We also then have the early light javelinmen and the noble cavalry. In this case, we do actually have the buildings to allow us to get noble cavalry. So what we could do if we wanted to would be to, for example, get another noble cavalry. We could actually add that one to the queue. And back in Powys, we could then go back into the Irish mercenary Ostmen and maybe get a couple of those as well. That'd be fairly cool. So that would be one way for us to address what we're doing. We then have other little areas back and through here as well. Quite often you'll find that this one will also allow us to build everything, even though this little province here, I'll just go back to the province. Oh, that's actually looking at the whole grouping. Sorry, it's looking at North Wales rather than just the individual. So I can build anything at all through those because we're looking at the actual if I just go back out again, yeah. If I go into this one and then go back into recruit, it will then still switch across. See how it's coloured in all that region? So we'll talk about regions as well in a minute. But this is actually something if we're going to be really looking at doing a deep dive into our army, what structures do we want for our standing army? We want good quality fighters taking up those first 10 or a lot of those first 10 slots, and then we want cheap support units coming in back under that one. So as far as my standing units is concerned, I'm actually pretty happy with having the noble cavalry. I'm happy enough having 4 of these Brythonic foot. I would love to get some of those heavy infantry as well. That would be very, very cool. Yeah, so sort of flesh it out. So different ways we can then go and do that. So we can actually go and either, as I say, start to recruit this way. We can do it also. We can actually, if we had friendly relations with another of the kingdoms, we can actually, like through diplomacy, get them to support us and give us some of their special units. Like, for example, we're not likely to get anything great in terms of cavalry, like heavily armoured knights. Whereas if we were friendly with some of these other English kingdoms, we possibly would be able to get hold of those as well. But we won't have a chance to do that in this sort of session or this particular run. The other way we can do it is we've got a thing called these regional decisions, and these are critical that you actually always are aware of this if you're playing the game. So always be aware of what's going on with this. So recruit non-standard units. This is like you will often get these right at the very, very start. Like we can recruit different types of units. And so you can go, often they'll recruit non-standard units and recruit local units. Have a look and see what you're going to get. So in this case, using this regional decision will enable you'll be able to get between 1 and 4 provincial units, depending on their strength, even if there is no formed province here. These units will not be mercenaries, in contrast to the ones recruited through the recruitment queue. And so region must be owned, which it is. You can see there this is an owned region. There must be a friendly leader with at least 1 total ranking, attack and defence, which is actually what we have in through here. Our army, again, if we go and click on the army, is ruled by this particular noble called Gronwe. And he's got like a 2 attack, 1 defense ability. So when we go back to our regional areas, we need to have that general in charge of a general in charge of a force in a territory that we own. And then we can recruit local units from there. And we can do things, for example, like shift right click to reduce the odds of having this decision come up again. These are like cards that you can then sort of go and play, or shift left click to increase the odds. So if we want to have this one come back again in the future, let's just shift left click it, and it will now turn to green. So changing the odds will cost approximately 50 money for all current changes. I'm happy enough with that one through there. So let's just go and changing the decision odds. I think that still would be okay. It's gonna mean it's gonna be more expensive for us to run it when it does come. But let's just have it there so we can always so at least it comes up a little bit more standard in a standard fashion. So this other one that we have is the non-standard units. So this decision will allow the recruitment of armoured noble cavalry, which is exactly what we want as well. So let's go and use that one to start with, I think. Or maybe we'll go this one. We'll play this card right now. And if I go and click on Powies, you'll notice that there's now a card has been played. So they're going to be recruiting, and we don't know exactly what that will be recruiting just yet, but we'll have a look and see what we end up with. So let's go and do that one through there. Let's not bother recruiting any other way at this stage until we see what's going on. That will do for now, and we won't attack this until we're sort of built up a little bit. Now, the other things we need to then sort of go and contend with is the region. So let's just now leave the armies away. I hope that's been a deep enough dive of how to sort of work with your forces a little bit until we actually get into the fights. When in the fights, it'll start to make more sense as to why we're doing what we're doing. We're just getting everything ready for what we're going to be doing. Now, in terms of if I just go back to the ownership overlays, you can sort of see there that we own this, but we also have this. This is actually our ally back into here, or our vassal. They sort of will be obliged to us if we get attacked. I've got the massive amounts of England across this other side. Now that's actually a plain. We could move down into the plains here and actually attack. But that would have a very wide frontage. If we were going to have a look at the frontage of this one through here, you can see that little 2 that's actually there is the movement cost to actually sort of move through that one. And it's an open plain, which means it's got a frontage of 18. So we need a big army to be able to make sure that we can surround or fight effectively in those open plains. So that's why Wales is historically so much easier to defend than other parts of England, because it doesn't have big open plains. And so it's got either hills or mountains, which makes it very, very easy to defend. We don't need to have great forces to be able to do that. All right, so that's got the army sort of out of the way. Let's talk about regions now. So if I go to the next tab down through here, which is domains, and so it gets a bit confusing with the words domains, regions, provinces, and there's they use domains in 2 different ways. A domain spelt the French way refers to a region. A domain spelt the English way refers to a collection of provinces like this. So this actually then colours, and this is actually an important aspect of managing the bigger regions. So for example, when we sort of move back here a little bit, England consists of all these different essentially regions back and through here. What do they call it? They're calling it domains. Okay, we'll call it domains. We'll try to keep it consistent. But these are all, like, so those three there comprise a domain. These 5 in here comprise a domain. And these are separate regions you can then actually have help to control. And we actually have full control over this region through here. We only have Powys is the only one that we actually have in control of this southern one. If we have more than half, we get to actually then govern that region, or that, not region, that domain. So we will be wanting to, and that's another reason for us to try to take Morganwig, because we will actually then be able to get 2 of the 3 that are required. There is also like a capital of each one. You'll notice that there's like an area that is sort of like a designated, this one doesn't show it actually. There's usually like a designated capital. Yeah, maybe I'm not seeing it through there. Yeah, it's the 5 boroughs. You'll notice when I hover over it, it says Lincolnshire 5 boroughs. Five boroughs is the domain. Back into here, North Wales is the domain, South Wales is the domain in through there. Anyway, what these do is they allow us to manage through our retinues. And the retinues don't play a big role in the game. Again, it's sort of like I said before, not like Crusader Kings, where it's mainly focused on those, on the not retinue, on the court system. To see the court, all you have to do is just go and click on your ruler. And our ruler also has other benefits as well, other bonuses. And we can sort of have a look to see through here, even if he's fighting, he's got an offensive rating of 1 and a defensive rating of 1. So we can actually use him as a general if we wanted to. If we go and click on this one, we can see in this case, now every time you play it, this will be a bit randomized. In this instance, Griffith is not actually married. But he does actually have sons and daughters, so maybe his wife has died in this version of our history. So we've got like some children, age 10, age 5, and we've got Morgan, our son, is age 22. It's important to see what their loyalty actually is in through here as well. So if we go and click on loyalty, we can then see what the loyalty factor is. And in this case, he's 54, which is sort of under what we'd be comfortable with. We'd be looking at 75 or more. And if we have a look, we can see that we've got somebody. So Ithil has a loyalty of 32 and can make a coup while at the court. So we have to be careful. Some of these we just won't know. Like you can see loyalty question marks. We don't know what these ones actually have. You'll notice that they've also all got an administration amount, a military amount, and a piety amount. This is their managerial prowess in those 3 areas. The most important one, in my opinion, is administration, because that will aid your authority. So administration and authority sort of go hand in hand for your governors, and really this is where you're sort of choosing them from. The relatives will consist of males in through here, which can be sort of put in control, like governorship of different areas. The females, because of historically what it's representing, are more there to end up with sort of royal marriages, which can then sort of help expand your abilities to move into different territories if you then have like a claim based on a royal marriage. So we've got a few. This is Ithil in through there. You can see Ithil has got a loyalty of only 32, which is what's coming back up in through there. So this is our most disloyal. This is our uncle Ithil. He's only age 22. He's got low administration, low military, and low piety, and he does have an offensive rating of 1, a defensive rating of 1 as well. He's a benevolent, his character, so administrative rating increased by 1 point, and regional loyalty bonus of 10. So he could revolt against us at some point. So you have to be aware of that. When you see the little arrow, it just means that there's more that you can then go and click on. And so we've got like a series of them. This one here. So Griffith in through this other side is actually an uncle like a clergyman, but his loyalty is 100 for us. But his actual skill set is fairly low, so he's not that great. We've got Moradig in through this other side as well. We'll have a look at each of these when we need to start to do things. But we also have other nobles in the court. We've got 6 of these. Again, unknown loyalty, but high administration in this case. So we sort of want someone that's got pretty good administration, military, and piety all the way through. So we've got those, and who else have we got? We've got Bledwin back in through this other side. So we don't actually have great people that we can sort of make good use of. They've also got their own, like their health, so everyone should be healthy. That one's not so much unknown ability. may just be because they're just a kid. Charge, sort of what their role is, comes up with this little sort of character. So here we go with the clergy back and through there, and just how rich they actually are individually, and this can have a bearing on what they then do as well. So there's some sort of basic things that they then actually sort of have in through here, and it gives you like a bit of a summary as to what's going on with the aspects that we sort of see in this particular screen. But if we want to be managing, we're going to be using one of those to manage anything. So we don't want to be using anyone that's disloyal. So the loyalty of 32, last thing we want is somebody like that in charge of a region, as the governor of a region. Let's go to Gwynedd in North Wales. The first time I click it, we're looking at just Gwynedd itself. The second time I click it, we then get the domain view. And so we're now looking at North Wales. And it consists of Anglesey, Gwynedd, and Perforded. God, how do you pronounce these things? And so we can put somebody in charge here, and you can see down through here, the provincial unit that we end up having is the Irish mercenary Ostman, back and through here. So this is a provincial unit we can then sort of get access to. And so we end up with to appoint a peer of the realm to this domain. Depending on his proficiency, he will provide more or less bonuses. So you can see their administration increases local stewardship and maximum national domain size. Military provides experience to newly recruited units, and piety helps with conversion. And so in this case, we're just going to go across, and we shouldn't have problems with heretics at this point, but if we did have problems, we'd be wanting to have a high piety, somebody that can sort of then help. These are the various rulers, the various court people that we actually end up having. One of our brother here is very good with administration and piety, but not great with military. He'd be great. He's also a navigator, so movement bonus of +2 for an entire stack, but only active in coastal waters. I think that's if he was like a general. So I think anyone that's got like 5, he's by far the best actually. Just looking at it, unknown loyalty, unfortunately. Yeah, where's the bad one? That's loyalty 100. That one's good. I forget what this one was. That was Ithel. Yeah, you can see the 2 exclamation marks there. So that's the bad loyalty. So this one just gives you a bit of a clue as to who's good. But I think that our brother here, age 24, unknown loyalty, but I'm going to put him in charge of North Wales. And so what he does is he will then manage North Wales for us using the administration, military, and piety to sort of help with managing that particular area. With him there, we then get other bonuses. Now, I didn't show this before, but we now can actually have more regions under our control by actually having somebody with high administration in through here. So we don't have to worry too much about that one, but some countries you will need to do it. Again, if you have a look at your national panel, you can see domain size, 4 of 19. We can actually have up to 19. And so the authority gain up to 14. So we can actually, as long as we have under 14, we're going to be gaining authority. The smaller your kingdom, the more authority you get because you can control it more easily. But we can see we can actually have a lot. Now, before I put him in there, that would actually be lower. It might have been sort of like 15 or something like that. So 4 out of 15. But in this case, we've got a lot that we can actually then go and do. So Siva's saying, well, if you happen to have the bribe cards, send envoy or even build a statue, you can make unloyal nobles less revolty. Yes, there's those cards that we mentioned before, these regional decisions, have a big bearing on what you can do in the game. These are sort of how you can tweak the game away from just playing it through the numbers, if that makes any sort of sense. But in this case, we certainly can get a much bigger kingdom if we wanted to. All right, when you've got somebody that's controlling a region, they can actually do all of the micromanagement for you. And I think I'm going to do that in this instance. So what we can actually have is we've sort of got like the how we're going to then split up the different populations. Well, I might just keep on. I hope you don't mind me doing this sort of deep dive into things. If you're really getting sick of me just doing like these explanations, just let me know and I'll start to sort of roll through some of the turns. But I think it's useful to know why we're doing certain things, and for me, it actually adds to the enjoyment. If I know I want to build my army a certain way, I want to manage my territory a certain way as well. I'm focused, and I overly focus on the money, back up through here. And we can see through here that we've actually got like projected money income. We've got regional commerce of -2. We've got population taxation of 21. The commerce, the regional commerce that we're sort of seeing, this is all of the trade. So we're actually losing money through trade a little bit. Population taxation of 21. So we are getting 21. This is actually the taxation we're taxing the populace. Military upkeep of -10. So why is that? We should fix that up because we don't need the size army that we've currently got. So we can possibly sort of do some things in through there. Court expenses of -1. Money income is a total of 8. That's sort of what we end up getting. And the previous turn total was 250, where we sort of started in through there. So what we have, again, the game will give you all these little tooltips. You go above your maximum, which will increase with banks and royal treasuries, 25% of the extra will be lost each turn. So we actually do have 5,200 sacks of coins we can store safely in our treasury. Otherwise, we're going to lose some. So, but we're not going to get that high, to be honest. We're going to be spending it. So that's one of the resources is money. Manpower is important as well. So regional manpower of 9, military upkeep is -25, so this is costing us a fair bit. Intrinsic production of 19, manpower generation total of 3. So that's sort of what we're left with. And again, we can mostly have 166. So we can maintain at most 166 musters of men ready to take arms. That's important for us to raise levies. This is actually how we raise our levies. Other things we have is metals back over through here. Now, playing as Wales or this sort of region of the world, we're going to have like a lot of metal production. Similarly, through areas like Silesia and Poland and things like that, you're likely to have. Traditionally, where there's been like a lot of mines, you are going to get a lot of mining production. And so we've got regional production of 3, intrinsic production of 2. So our metal production is 5. So that's actually fairly cool. And again, we can store up to 56. So our equipment production of 16 allows us to store at most 56 bundles. Now we can change that with the buildings that we end up having if that becomes a problem. They're the main resources we use for the armies. So let's just fix the army up. I mean, we're looking at armies before. Let's just go back and we'll come back and do the other bits and pieces. So let's get rid of, and again, if we just press Control and have a bit of a look, this one is costing me 3 money per unit. So, we do actually have manpower as well. So if we get rid of a few of these ones that are not part of the retinue, so if I just go and if I right click on those and disband, probably both of those, I think. If we just go and disband those. So disbanding Wales armies next turn, eliminating all units, yes. So we'll get rid of those 2. Oh, hang on, that's for the whole group. We want to split them off. We want to split off a certain number. We're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I reckon 6 is enough. So let's get rid of another 2 in here as well. And I'll just select those and we'll just split them off. God, that would have been disastrous. The second Welsh army is going to be disbanded. So that's what we're going to disband. So they're being disbanded. I'll just make doubly sure we're not disbanding this one in through here. This group is now going to be the start of our core army. And we may still have too many javelin men already at this point in time. May even get rid of one more. Let's just go and split that one off. I can just merge that one in with this other group. In fact, if I just go that one and merge and then go and click on that army there. So that 5 is all going to be disbanded. So they're going to be gone. And then that will save us a bit of money. So at the moment, it's costing us money, it's costing us manpower to keep these here, and I prefer to have other forces. So let's just leave that one where that is. So that's the Welsh army back and through there. Going back to the province again, if I click it a second time, we then get the provincial look of everything. Also hover over everything you see because there's so many little tips that you end up. So the loyalty is high back into here all the way through these different regions. But there's little tool tips in most things where it'll give you all sorts of little tips on what to look at. But in this case, what we want to do is we've got different, if I just go into, say, Powies, you'll notice that Powies has got like different pops in through here. So Welsh Christian Catholic peasants back in through here. We also have Welsh Christian Catholic freemen. So we've got freemen working in through here as well, and we've got peasants that are also working. These can be shuffled around into different areas. We've got like food. This is our food production. This is our infrastructure production. This is our trade back and through this other side. Military, piety, and then stewardship down the bottom through here. So we've got like one group of nobles back and through this other side, which are producing 29 stewardship. You can see we've got plus 29 coming essentially from the 25 from the nobles. We have a national modifier of 15%, so we end up with 29 back in through there. Stewardship helps with the authority, the local authority in that region, which we'll talk about maybe. Maybe I won't. I'll just get through. We've spent an hour and we haven't even played that first turn yet. Well, once we get going, we'll be able to go a bit faster. This is our clergy, which actually then helps with piety. So working with piety, mysticism, or science. And again, if you watch those videos, you'll sort of see how astrology is just starting to kick in now in this era. Astrology is sort of becoming more important in terms of combining with piety and also with health. Also, the infrastructure that we have in through here is health and infrastructure. Quite often, negatives to your health will be because of buildings that are built, particularly in amongst things like the stone quarry, for example. If I click on that one, it will then sort of show me things where they're like it's a tier 1 health and infrastructure. It's not a healthcare building, but this one, some of these can actually give you negative health, depending on what it actually is. Maybe we'll have a look at that in just a minute. Anyway, shuffling these around. If I move this freeman down into this area, I take 5 away from the food generation. At the moment, it's going at plus 8. This is important for growth. If I can move that one down into infrastructure or into trade, so the freeman can move into any one of those slots. If I just move him into there, for example, our food goes down, our infrastructure goes up. So we can build faster back in through there. If I go and grab the peasant, I can still bring presents down, but I can't bring them down into the trade areas, so they don't work in the trade. The freemen do. I can actually move this one across. You can see we're getting plus 5 money. You can go, okay, look, generate another 5 in through there. In this case, we actually have lower growth, like the same infrastructure we had before, but we're now generating extra money, and our money has gone up by that amount, by 5, plus 5. So that's actually now going to be more income coming back in through that particular one. Manpower as well will often be, like you can see we can't do anything with the freeman. I'll just leave that one back up there for now. But the nobles can often move up into this little area in through here, and they will then impact other regions if we end up going into more the military. It's not actually the manpower so much. We do need to, manpower is a tricky one to sort of manage, but we'll see if we can sort of find something that's got that. Anyway, that's it's better to keep them back down into here. They can move across. The nobles can also do trade as well, but really having at least, do need at least one in stewardship. It's really quite important to maintain that. And the clergy as well, they can also move across into working in the infrastructure if we needed them to as well, but they're better off, unless you've got multiple, you're better off just sort of keeping one back in through there. And again, just hover over things. You'll find all sorts of useful information as you sort of play the game. Of interest, actually, we can see that there's like a special symbol here next to where we're looking. This means that it's actually part of England has got a foreign claim on this territory. So this is something that they would be focusing on to try to control at some point. So there's Powies back in through there. So there's a claim on that from England. Anyway, that's sort of where we are by default with the populations. Now we can manage that ourselves, or we can go back to our provinces and go and get our brother to go and manage that for us. And we can do it in different ways. And so we can say focus on food production and growth, or focus on infrastructure and build the buildings faster or, make more money, or, and so if I go and click on these, if I go and say, focus on extra money, it will then push most of them across into that trade area. And so we'll see that our money has now gone up to plus 34. So we can sort of tell it what to do. It won't be crazy with what it does do, but it will actually just try to do what it can do. Nobles will be more focused on unit recruitment speed. So and if we do that one, we should see the nobles. So the nobles didn't really change there. It didn't change much at all there, to be honest. If I just go back across to, well, it's not going to go back to what it was. This one here, province, was just a balanced overview. The balanced one was just sort of balance it out as how it thinks is best served. And I'm just going to do that, I think. I'll just leave it on balanced for now. This is your manpower, like your population, as to where they're going to be sort of then operating. Over through here, we have our building slots as well. And so you can actually have them also then build buildings for you. And if you've got like balanced back and through here, we'll just... it'll just sort of try to find the best overall balance for you. You do actually have deactivate, which means you have to go through every province and build it yourself. And I'm thinking initially I might show that, just again so that if you're trying to sort of figure out what to do. But if you don't want to be doing it, if you've got like a large empire, just either balance, focus on whatever you want to be focusing on. Here's one that focuses on healthcare, for example. And again, thinking in terms of those videos that were produced, if I go and click on that, as soon as I click on it though, it will have then filled slots. I might show it manually and then show it how it then sort of automates things. If I go back to Gwynedd back in through here, Gwynedd has got like a lot of buildings in it. So you can see these are all different buildings in through here, and these will then chew up infrastructure slots. And so the infrastructure production, where is it? We've got nothing in the stockpile there. We can still build. Actually, there it is there. Building slots. We've got 7 of 8. This typically sort of runs with your population. So as the population increases, you'll then have more building slots you can then go and build. And so in this case, we've got like a shepherd house. And it's worth actually clicking on these, having a bit of a look to see what this one does. It produces wool. So within trade range, naught are needed, naught are consumed, and 1 are produced. So we're producing wool, but we're not actually getting any benefit from that. So it's a trade good that nobody wants at this stage. It may change. Back in through here, we have a few different things. We've got mining exploitation. You can see this was costing us 8 gold, and we're getting 1 metal. So we're getting 1 metal production at the cost of 8 gold. This is actually where you can start to micromanage a little bit. We won't do that too much in this run, but it needs wood and it's missing the wood. I might show you, actually, I might do a little section on trade goods as well, and so I can sort of show how you sort of look for these problems. This is a problem, having the 8 money disappearing from here. If we had wood, it wouldn't cost us any money. So, and wood you'd think is a fairly sort of standard resource. This has been tweaked actually recently in the game as well. There is more wood in the game than what there was. But this is something where if we can get hold of wood, that'd be great. So that would be fairly good. So anyway, that's the mining exploitation. We also then have copper mine in through here. And so the copper mine produces 2 metals, produces copper times 2. It actually produces 2 copper trade goods as well. And within trade range, 1 are needed. Naught are consumed and naught are produced. So this is actually, we are trading this a little bit, which is going to be some extra money coming back in. It's harder than ploughing a field to actually do this, and that means it leads to a health penalty of 3%. So we actually have a negative health in this particular province. And if we go across and hover over population, you'll see there in that first little group, it's got turns before next population 20, etc., etc. It's got a health penalty of minus 3%, and it requires extra food just to actually overcome the growth effects of that low health. So we need extra food to get the growth because of that. And also what we're really aiming for in terms of health in the game is about 20% in the positive, so not negative. We want a bonus of 20%, which will then help keep epidemics down. Now, it doesn't matter much for small populations like we currently have, but once we start to get up in high populations, we're really going to be wanting to focus on some of these health, on the health aspect of regions, because epidemics will run rampant through areas of low health with high health penalties like this one here. So that's a copper mine, so it does have a health negative. And then we've got a craftsman's burrow. Now these are interesting. These can be upgraded to a craftsman's district, and this is a prerequisite to second tier. There's nearly 700 buildings in the game, and they all do different things, and they all sort of work sort of in with each other in different ways. This one, we get bonuses as well. We're missing tools from here. That's not costing us money. We're just not getting extra infrastructure from this, but the craftsman burrow just helps with building things. So that's where we are. Now, even when we fill up everything, like the building queue in through here, which you'd think that infrastructure doesn't then have much of a bearing, it can then go and help, because it's part of the domain, like the North Wales domain, it can then help with the building of other things throughout North Wales. So this is where the province system sort of works in fairly well. Arduous work gains 3 infrastructure, and it's not really having any health impact. So health impact is actually something we do have to be mindful of. We can build one more building in here. And you can see that we've got, like we do actually have an anchorage back and through this other side. There's different classes of anchorage, which would give you different sorts of ships. We've got a shoemaker shop in through there. This one is actually generating 8 gold for us. And we can see there we are missing a bonus from furs and pelts, so getting that one in there would get a little bit extra money. We need leather, and we're importing that from our vassal, Duabath, which costs us 2 money, but we generate 8 from it. And we also get a bonus 2 from the wool, because wool is a bonus. Even though we're not really exporting this one out, we're getting the bonus from that wool to actually help giving us a bit more money. So that's actually where the wool is sort of then combining with that one through there. On the other side of the fence zone through here, we've got like a fortified village in through here, which will then give us like garrisons if we get attacked. It'll give us wall levels if we end up with sieges. So you do want to have some degree of fortification as well. This is just for protection. You'll notice that there's also like a stewardship bonus as well from this one of 6, which does sort of help. We can get extra manpower if we could get legumes into here, but we actually don't have any in this region. And so if we can find legumes, that would be great. So it's worth sort of knowing what you do need. And yeah, we get a food bonus from the reassuring protection of the land holdings of 15% back in through there. This one is a tier 1 military building. It can be upgraded a little bit as well over time. So we've got that one through there. We don't actually have any piety buildings, and we actually have a domain court, a noble's residence, and a town crier. Now the first 2 are buildings that we sort of have to have in a capital. Every capital will have something like this. And these, we can disassemble this one, but some of them you can't. That one there, we can't disassemble the noble's residence. So that's one that we can't pull apart. We can pull apart nearly anything else. But in this case, the noble's residence gives us 14 stewardship. We wouldn't be wanting to do this anyway. But we do have missing bonuses back and through there. The authority increase of 1. Garrisons, we end up with 2 heavy, 2 medium, so 4 garrisons because of this particular noble's residence. We'll look at a few of the other ones as well. This one just gives a stewardship of 6. We end up with more garrisons back and through here. The town crier gives us stewardship of 12. It just helps to promote what's actually going on. And it sort of says if loyalty is low in the region, he has a chance, depending on your accumulated stewardship there, to trigger a temporary loyalty increase as people understand through the voice that the king or war chief gaze upon them. So it just helps. This is sort of like an extra sort of little building that just helps with the stewardship. Anyway, I hope that sort of explains sort of how the interplay of the buildings does work. This is where we can build it. We've only got one that we can actually then go and build in through here. And again, it falls into those different categories. We've got the food. And so if we have a look at this one through here, oops, hang on, if it's going back and click on that one through there. So I've got this one will give me 4 extra food. It'll chew up that last infrastructure slot. Sometimes there's 0, so you can sort of build things for free. We're missing food bonuses because we don't have grain or flax. Produces livestock. So trade opportunity, as there is no extra within trade range of 3. Now, I won't explain that just yet, but that's sort of like how far away we can trade. It comes down to a lot of our, for example, administration levels of our king, etc. within trade range, 3 are needed, 1 are consumed, and 0 are produced. So bonus efficiency, a single nearby structure would produce more, expected changes of 1 manpower as well. So chickens, this is actually not a bad little building for us to grab, because we can actually then use that for trade as well. We also then have a charcoal burner back in through here, which is going to cost us money, and it needs wood. So trading would then be required there as well. So that would then cost us to get the charcoal burner. The potter's workshop, infrastructure, chew up the infrastructure. We get a little bit of money back in through there. Trade opportunity, there's no extra within trade range, so not really of all that value. Reinforced palisade, so changing the fortification level by +1 points. It just would mean that we'd be harder to besiege. We've got like a commoner cemetery back in through here. Get a health bonus of 3%. That would then sort of chew up that negative that we actually end up having, and we get a regional loyalty bonus of 3 as well. So that's something we could put in there to get the extra health. And then we actually have the village green in through here as well, where we get the missing bonuses from livestock, so food and others from livestock in through there. Our livestock is what we end up getting from the poultry farm. So that's what that would then produce. So if we were happy with that one, personally, I'd be probably choosing the livestock, the poultry farm. But you can, if you're not happy with anything, you can spend some of your authority. We don't have any at the moment, but you can spend your authority to then go in specifically and say, look, let's have a look and see what's on offer in here. We've got food storage back in through there, so we can actually sort of, we can have, this building will keep an additional 5% of food after population growth. So we can actually sort of move that one, or we can go with a stud. So this would actually allow us to produce horses here. Infrastructure and health, we've then got different things, for example, like warehouses, a rustic tread wheel crane back in through here, it's a heavy lifter. We've got a smokehouse, which would use livestock and produce cured food. Salt house back in through there. Like do we get any health bonuses? Nothing there. This is a herbalist. This one should give us extra manpower, and so this would actually then also give us a health bonus, I would have thought. If I right click, we can then sort of have a look and see what it's going to then go and do back in through here, so we can sort of see what it's actually telling us. Yeah, health of 5. Yeah, so it gives a healthy. And what about the salt house? Health of 8. Yeah, so these really do boost your health up. These sorts of little buildings in through here. So these are all health buildings. These lighter sort of coloured in through there. And we have a stonemason. But to do that, it's going to cost me authority, and you've got to be very careful with doing that, because that's the fastest way to sort of then move backwards in the game. But sometimes you really do need to do it. I won't go through the rest of those, but that's actually sort of how you can then overcome by doing this, or by using national authority to dictate exactly what you want to be building. In this case, I'll just keep the poultry farm selected in here, and so that will now be the one that's being chosen in this area. If I click again and just go back to the provincial view, you'll notice that the poultry farm has been selected down for Gwynedd back in this area. But let's go and leave the governor to go and choose what he wants. So we'll just go and say, just give me a balanced view, I guess. I can sort of slot these around. You'll notice that it's chosen the commoner cemetery. So it's replaced that one for me. It's gone with a shepherd house in through there as well, and food storage. That's the balance. If we go into things, for example, like food, is put the poultry farm back in. If we go to health, we're then going to see the smokehouse. The charcoal burner is an interesting one. I don't know why that would actually choose that one for that one, but we've got a barber there as well. So these are all the different types of buildings that do come back in. This is going to be infrastructure as well. Leather works. This is if we want to focus on military, focus on trade, back in through there, focus on piety. I'll just go back to balance though, and I think I can then just go back in and override that one. Yep. So that way we're getting sort of, in this case, it's going to be focusing on food. Now, Powies is not part of we don't control, if I click on this one a second time, we don't get the South Wales area because we don't control the other area just yet. In this case, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to micromanage this myself. I'm just going to have a quick look. Oh, there we go. There's got wood cutting in through here. This produces 2 wood. This is exactly what we need. This is going to help us a lot. So that's actually not even like we won't look at the other ones. We've got an astrologer's house. So this is, again, if you've watched those videos, have a look at them, and you'll sort of, a lot of these buildings will start to meld and make sense. And things like, for example, even though it's in the clergy area, we've got an astrologer's house in here, for example. So this one here would be infrastructure. Choose up one on infrastructure. We do get more money from it, and we get piety. Now we do actually have copper. So astrologers and superstition is actually fairly prevalent and becoming more prevalent in this era of in the 1000s essentially. And again, that video really does present that really quite nicely as to how things actually sort of do work. So we've got the lucky star rarely generates an unfathomable resource called luck. So revolt risk decreased by 5%. So it's sort of it's a stabilizing factor to actually have this one in through here. And again, it's funny when I've seen that in the past, I haven't really thought much about these sorts of buildings, but those videos really did put how all of these things are sort of melding together now, and in this time in history. Anyway, that's sort of in there as well. There's some interesting ones that are actually in here. Exchange post, giving them more money, a bit more piety. There's another town crier, but really we need the wood. Now, before I select it, I'll show you why in fact, I can still select it, but we can sort of see to figure out what's happening with our money and why is it sort of costing, things costing like certain aspects. If we just go back across to trade goods in through here, we can then start to see a few little things on this one. If you just hover over, it'll then tell you what the colors mean. But in this instance, when we see green, it means that everything is actually okay. We don't have to worry about that particular province. It's sort of like it's not spending money to bring what actually happened with this one in through here. Similarly with this one in this instance, this has also got like a greenish look to it, and you can sort of see if we look over that one through there, you can see where all the trade is produced. In red regions with 3 or more missing goods, it costs a lot of money to sustain. In orange regions with 1 or 2 missing goods, which is what we've got both in Anglesey and also in Gwynedd. So we should look at then see if we can fix that. This is actually something that's worth doing early to sort of try to get a feel for what you should be focusing on. You might want to inspect the regions in red, blah, blah, blah. And so it says in blue regions with only bonus goods are missing, like our friend down through here. And then finally green just means that they're actually okay. So if I go and click on the trade goods, the trade details, and start clicking on some of these, like I'll go to the green one in through here, for example, you'll see that we're not missing any trade goods, we're not missing any bonus goods. This is green. This one in through here as well, we don't have anything, but we're not missing much. At Gwynedd, we're actually missing, we're missing trade good here. Orange means 1 or 2 are missing. We're missing wood. So by getting wood from here, we can then bring it back into here, and we'll save 8 gold from that particular wood, so that will be very helpful. We are actually importing in some leather, so we're importing that from Dubith, and this is actually coming in. Is that green line there is showing that we've actually got that's the trades coming in from there, and that's fine. Costing us 2 is actually not a big problem. So it's actually, it's better to trade than to not actually have it. But the missing wood is a big problem. You can see we're missing a lot of bonus trade goods as well. So we don't actually have all of these things would be great to have, but really it's this one here, this missing trade goods in through here is the one that's going to cost you money. So we've got missing wood from there. And what about Anglesey? In Anglesey, we're missing legumes. So getting legumes would actually then help as well around the whole region. So if we keep an eye open for that, and this is a missing trade bonus goods as well with the wood. Now we're going to be getting the wood at Powys, which will then sort of allow us to then at least help with that. This is a really quick and easy way to see where there's a problem. If you see that there's something with red, you can look at it all around the globe actually to see where there's different problems. In this case, they're missing 2 and missing 3 actually. They're missing the livestock is being missed twice. They've got a butchery and a manorial domain back in through here as well. And so they've got 2 buildings that really would rely very heavily on livestock. and they're also missing legumes as well. In that instance, when I was looking around once before, this one here had heaps. It's only got, this one's got heaps. It's missing 2 lots of legumes from the hamlet and the hovels. It's missing a stable with the so it's got stables, but it needs horses, and it's also got the structure missing. This trade good is an armor smith. That's a very expensive area. This does, again, some of these are randomized, so sometimes you won't sort of notice them all that much. What do these ones have? Yeah, they're missing 3. Missing 3 as well. There's 2 missing there. Yeah, some of them will end up with just heaps and heaps, which is sort of funny to sort of see it. All right, so anyway, that's the trade goods. So we've done a real lot of micromanagement in this so far. Let's end our turn. I don't think there's anything else we really need to sort of be focused on here at this point in time. My apologies about how long it's taken me to go through that, but I think it's worth doing a deep dive. They're the sorts of things to look at when you first start playing the game. Let's go and end our turn now. Now, we've got a fair season at this stage, which is fine. Just go across. And we'll then have a look and see what we end up getting. So it's processes a turn. It's a we go system. Now, we're seeing different forces being built and coming into this region. With what we had done through there. So it looks like we've got some more powerful sort of forces coming into our particular armies. They've actually built a navy. And so in this case, we've actually only got +1. We've only got +1 authority. We're down in the bottom level of the authority. It's important that we get up to the top. We want to be up into here so we can start to progress. If we stay down in the bottom here, we regress back in through here. Legacy is for scoring. You can pretty much just ignore it, to be honest. So anyway, let's just go and click on that one, which is okay. So Grufford Llewellyn, the prestige of your dynasty is much too humble for your grandiose schemes. Wales is regressing. Disorder tier reached. Okay, so that means we're in the bottom area of that authority. So we need to raise our authority. Often you can't do much about that one. You can see their authority and disorder. It says +3 coming, which is fine. So that will fix itself up. Yeah, so we are crumbling at this stage. Bottom tier, there's a 17% chance we're going to receive a disorder token, which means 5 of those, and we then regress back to a poorer state. We'll just close that one off. Now we've got a few different things. So new claim. So Grufford Llewellyn, driven by ambition, stakes a claim on Cambridge in the name of Wales. So we actually now put out in a claim over through to here. So that's Cambridge in East Anglia. So we've actually said, hey, this is ours. We want this. So this becomes a bit of a random thing that we decide that we should have some sort of control over that. Now, in terms of what we actually have done through there, we can see through there, we've got these are like the different event things in through here. So this is the one that we saw there about the prestige sort of not showing up. I can just click on those. It will then sort of take us to that location. These in through here. We've got 2 events that happened in Powys. Wales has enlisted skilled soldiers, and the Welsh army has been disbanded as well. So we've lost some men, but we've raised some as well. So if we go and have a look at this army now and see what we end up picking up. So our first Welsh army is in here. The second Welsh army now just consists of 2 of the Ostmen. So 2 heavy infantry have been levied in, which is great. Which means that we don't need to go and grab the others. Now these are still levies. Press control. They would normally cost me 12 gold to upkeep, but these are going to be part of our core. So we're just going to go across and merge that one with the first Welsh army. And so now we sort of see that we've now got the 2 Ostmen have now joined in with the group. We've now got a noble cavalry. We've got 4 Brythonic foot, and then we've got early light javelin men back in through there as our support. So we've got 5 support, and we've got a heap of frontline troops. I think we're now ready to move off. So this is now worth 81 combat power. So we've sort of gotten rid of some, but we're still over our limits. Like if we have a look and see, our gold is now starting to correct itself. Military upkeep is a lot less than what it was because we disbanded those other units, and it will always choose the least expensive to be the one that's not part of your. Again, if we control over that one, you can see upkeep as part of our retinue. So the expensive ones will always be in your retinue. So they're all retinue. Now we've got 4, 5, 6, 7. I can get 3 more expensive ones. We've got 3 of these are in the retinue. Other ones aren't. That's good enough, I think, for us to sort of be able to do what we need to do regionally, and then we can start to sort of build up. We always have a look at the regional decisions. So we've got things like motivate troops. We've got the recruit non-standard units. I could go and get armoured noble cavalry. I might just do that, and then that way we're just going to have that will be another good unit for us to actually then end up having. So I'm just going to go and put that one back into there. So that one is going to be recruit non-standard units. Once you get going with the game, it's sort of fairly simple. So let's go and now just look at combat. I'll bring them in, and then we'll look at combat. Now we should bounce a little bit with the authority. We're going to be a bit all over the place with authority. I'm not going to be focusing too much on that. There goes the cavalry just coming in now. And this is a powerful one, actually. Danny's saying, hey Daz, what happened to all your Fog 2 videos? My playlists no longer work. I'll have to... That's possibly from when I got hacked, actually. See how we now bounced back up into the middle region because we got +2. We're now at 3. So we just need to make sure that we stay high in through here. Yeah, I got hacked some time ago, and I just haven't got through all my old playlists yet. So I will eventually get there, but I just haven't been able to do it. I've got to go back through all my videos and re-approve them, essentially. All right, so we've got the Welsh back in through this other side. Yep, that's all okay. At least we're out of that bottom area. Again, read the tips, as you play the game, if you're sort of getting used to the game. So we've got a couple of different, these are sort of like important things. Received a new regional decision, so instill revolt. So this is actually, this would then help us to, if we have a look and see the regional decision there. So instill revolt, by fueling dissent between minor nobles or by arming disgruntled peasants and freemen, this region will be set in turmoil with a notable lowering of its loyalty towards its rightful owner. So region must be adjacent to one of our regions, and region must not be a capital of any type. So we can start to sow dissent into here if we wanted to sort of start to move things across, but I think I'd prefer to do other things. I like having that card. By the way, we can only have a maximum of 16 cards, so ditch them if you're just not going to use them. Like, I don't know if I'd ever used forced march, for example. And so control right click to sell one decision, and we get extra gold. We actually also get a little bit of manpower as well. So I might get rid of that one. So that one's going to be sold off. Motivate troops, convert to new faith. We're not going to do that either. What's this one? Convert a population of the target region to the region. Yeah, never going to use that. Not in this. Not in this area. It's not like we're in Spain or somewhere on where we've got pagans or anything like that. So let's go and get rid of that one as well. That's going to give us 10 gold. So it'll just give us a little bit of an increase in gold. It'll just get us back down to 3. So always make sure that you're not freezing out the cards, and make sure that you've got the cards that you want. It's so important. I actually believe, from a user experience thing, that this needs to be much, much more prominent. It's so important. For me, it's more important than the national panel to actually be able to see those cards. They're so critical. So critical. They're a major part of what you do in the game. So we've got our armies again. We've now got the second Welsh army. We've now got, this is another standing, this is an armoured noble cavalry. This is our most powerful unit. This is better than the other noble cavalry that we actually have. So we're going to now merge that one in with the army. When you merge armies together like this, there is actually a bit of a negative for the actual army itself, but this army is very strong. And so we now actually have like our army upkeep, military upkeep is -6. That's fine. It's basically 2 units is essentially what we end up having. So what do we got? We got 4, 8, actually 3 units that we'll be paying for in through here. So anyway, that's going to be fine. So we've got 2 standing units. The Ostmen are levied, which is actually okay. And again, I can go in and grab more of these if I wanted to. So to bring one of these in, I would just sort of select it, and it's going to cost me 24 gold, 30 of my manpower. I'm getting plus 13 now, so this has actually become quite healthy. It's going to cost me 2 of this, and so let's just go and add one of these to the queue. 7 turns to build one of these, so it does take a bit of time, but at least it's not a mercenary. Notice that it's plus 12 if we're paying for it. If we go back to the other one and then look at the Irish mercenary back and through here, it's plus 24, but we don't have any manpower, or we don't have to essentially pay for its upkeep in other ways. It's only as gold. This is why empires like the Byzantine Empire will mainly be using mercenaries, because they've got so much money, but they don't have much of anything else. And so this is where the game is really quite interesting, the way it does sort of work. Now, we've got an extremely strong army here for what we want to do in this region. So this is going to be complete overkill, but I'll just go through the different ways of fighting battles. So let's just go and do this one. So if I go and drag that one across, we don't have to declare war. I can't move into these without actually having a declaration of war. But in this case, I can just take over these particular territories. So we will, actually, I'll just quickly go through these. So we've got another, okay, we've also made a claim on Kent. These are miles away. These are too far away. Still a new regional decision in Still Revolt. So we've got another regional decision back in through there. So I've now got, was that the same one we had before? Yeah, it was. We looked at that one before. Getting confused. I'll just put it back down to the main terrain in through here. This is showing that we've got the vassalization, the vassal in through there. This is sort of showing that it's actually a neutral territory off to the side, and that's the extent of that particular territory. I would like to start to push this territory, this Mercia. It's a vassal of England, but it would be good if we could start to push some claims that way as well. Let's just go and get the Welsh army back down this way, back into here. So we'll start to, our army is very strong, actually, for what we actually now have. So we're going to move that one down. So we'll get there next turn. You can sort of see the movement. I should talk about movement, but maybe we'll do that if we can claim these over through here. So Hereford, as like this is part of Mercia back into this other side. If we go to the diplomacy, where are we? Overview, regions, movement, claims, just diplomacy. There was a, I'm missing it there. Loyalty, political, that's it. It's not called diplomacy. So political is just sort of showing us what we've got. So we've got sort of like enemies essentially. These are going to be like independent fiefdoms, which can be taken over. This is we're on a good relationship here, plus 25. We're not seeing anything. We don't have any sort of bearing at all with any of these. Sometimes you'll actually have some of the factions will actually have different, like a fairly rich one. You can see that England doesn't like us much. Negative 25 in through there. Scotland's not on our borders, so we don't get to sort of see what Scotland thinks of us. But typically that would be sort of what we want to have. So I'm going to go into Hereford back in through here, which we don't control. We can see again what they're building. They're trying to build a charcoal burner in through here. And so with this one in through this other side, I can then go across to diplomacy. And what we want to do is, we don't want to declare war yet. What we want to do is just start to piss them off a little bit. So England is their liege. They're an earldom. So see how they're only tier 1 and we're tier 2? This is why Wales has just been improved. That's why we're playing Wales. Wales, these are essentially our marcher lords that we're looking at through here. So these are only earls. So then they don't have the same growth that we would actually end up having. They've got five regions back in through there. Foreign policy, help if amiable, so future ally. If a nation you plan to ally with is being attacked, answer their call. So we don't need to sort of do that one as such. We have things like, for example, we can go to war with them, declare war. You'll enter a war with this nation on the next turn. There is an authority cost to pay, so we've got to be very careful doing this sort of stuff. So war is not, we've only got 4 authority, so we don't want to be doing anything like that just yet. Passage rights, it's mutual decision, offer a gift, so that would cost us money. insult the emissary, perhaps humiliate them. In the most extreme cases, kill one or two of their envoys. The end result will be the same. This will anger them and please their enemies. If you have no claim in the territory, you might get one, although it can cost you some authority. So again, the cost of authority is something we want to avoid. So I'm not going to do this just yet. We can also then just do transactions where we start to sort of give metal, seed regions, send units, etc. in through here. One thing you'll notice in through here is there's no trade goods. You can't actually say, I really need the wood that you're growing, in this forest over here. I really need that to come back in through here. That's all handled through the game, through the trade networks, and the authority that you actually have will have a big bearing on what happens in terms of pulling in trade goods. Like if you're very weak in that area, the game, you may even actually lose goods that you're building yourself that you need. Somebody else with very high levels of trade acumen will actually be able to actually suck those into their own territory. So it's quite interesting, but yeah, it's not worth doing any diplomacy at all just yet in a negative way. So if we can get a claim, that would be useful. So anyway, let's just keep on going. Oops, hang on, where are we? Let's go back to just the defaults, and we'll end our turn in here. Now, when we come in, we're going to have a couple of choices here. So it's now just doing it's processing the turn. It's a WeGo system, and so we're only 34% of the way through that 6 months. So we're essentially like 2 months in the 6 months, and then we've got this particular attack going in. Now, we've got 10 units against our 13 units, so we've got 13 units against their 10. We can either view the battle, it's like an auto battler system. I'm going to go through both, just so you can see the process of exporting and playing it all out. There is a save game that's now saved, and we can always come back to this if you don't like certain results. So if we view the report, I sort of either have to export the battle now or miss out on doing that. So let's just export the battle. So export the battle and play in a compatible version of Field of Glory 2 Medieval. Now, this has changed in very, very recently. And so what we end up having through here is now a much cleaner process. So I'll click it and show you what actually happens here. It used to be quite convoluted to go and actually play the battle, but if you've got both games, and I know that people who are sort of aren't used to this game sort of think, it should just be part of the one game. I agree it should be part of the one game, but it sort of is not onerous anymore. Let's just go and click on it. This will overwrite whatever exported battle we have. It's just a single save, so when you're playing, which is okay. So battle exported to Field of Glory 2 Medieval. If you're ready, Kingdoms will now close and Medieval will start. In Medieval, navigate to battles and select Kingdoms battle after completing the battle. So if we just go and click on OK, what it will then do is it'll minimize Kingdoms, which is what we're seeing right now, and it will then open up automatically Field of Glory Medieval, which it used not do. You used to have to manually go and do that. That's one thing that they changed that a little while back, and then also you used to have to physically go and find where that game was and play it, but now it just opens straight up into it. So it's a hands-off system now, which is actually pretty cool. So RNG got saying it's rad as heck. It's convoluted because they're two completely different games, but they've been built very closely. And I don't think you need any of the DLCs to be able to play Kingdoms. So if you've got the base Medieval game, you can then play it. You can play the battles out in Medieval. And look, my preference is to play them out in Medieval because I like that tabletop system. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about this as well. So we've got Welsh versus Independence in through here. So and we're in the South Wales. It's going to then use that sort of terrain with what we're going into. Now, we're going into a hilly terrain, remember? So rout the enemy, blah, blah, blah. It's just fairly sort of stock standard. And so we open now straight up in the battle, and that used to not happen. So at least it's clean in that sense. And I think that's actually, just from a user experience perspective, that's actually fairly cool. Now we're in deployment mode, so we can sort of shuffle things around. It'll tell us if we've got extra generals. Sometimes if we've got like a very high quality general, we may get an extra general. We can then sort of go and slot into where we actually are. But we should start off with a couple of them. So when we have a look at the actual at the army itself, there's Gronwa, our commander-in-chief, the same character that we actually had in the game. If something happens to him, if he gets killed in here, he gets killed in Kingdoms. So just be aware of that. So the effects, everything that you do in here has a bearing on what happens back in the other game as well. Now, we do actually have armoured cavalry, and we've got just normal cavalry. Notice that we've got more than what we had selected. What the game does, it sort of abstracts out what the numbers should be to give you an interesting battle in through here. So even though we only had one group of armoured noble cavalry in Kingdoms, in Medieval it split that into two, and we've got like two portions essentially of that one unit. Similarly with just the noble cavalry, they've sort of been split up as well into here. We've got another sub-general there, and we've got another sub-general back in through here. And so these are our Ostmen that we ended up picking up. Now the Ostmen, you can see we don't have any extras of those. They're just coming in as their own entities. The Brythonic Foot, how many of those have we got? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got one extra of those than what we had. So again, it's just balancing out what those numbers actually were. And then we've got 5 of the skirmishers back in through here as well. In terms of the terrain does matter a lot in this game. So I'll play this one fairly fast. We should be able to really overwhelm very, very, very quickly. If we just go to Noble Cavalry. Cavalry aren't going to be able to do much except in here. So I'm going to move all the cavalry out. You can see that some of them have got the ability to... actually, that one's just lucky. It just happened to be out there. So we're going to move the armoured cavalry here and noble cavalry just in behind. So they'll just deploy in there. I think I prefer to keep... Now, we've got some rough terrain in through here, and if you haven't played the game before, it really does matter a lot as to what you have. Big undrilled heavy foot soldiers like these Ostmen do not fight well in rough terrain. There's tracks in through there. It's still open, even though it's showing some trees. It's not like the woods that are here. So this is actually fine for the Brythonic Foot to a degree. They're moderately disordered in the woods, but if we put one of these guys in there, if I grab this one as an example and throw that one in there, it's severely disordered, which means it really doesn't fight very well at all in that. If I push these up into this rough ground as well. If I just, hang on, I can't do that with that one. Have we only got the rough ground? Yeah, we've got this one in through here. If I put that one into there, again, severely disordered. But our medium foot, like just the medium foot that we actually have in through here, even in the rough ground in through here, will be only moderately disordered. So they fight fairly effectively. The skirmishers fight no problem at all. Any sort of rough terrain, they're not going to have any issues with. It is fairly open. I won't do any more. I'll just leave that where that is. So let's just go and end our turn there. Just very quickly sort of rattle through this one. We should only be really facing like a lot of just like skirmishy type forces. We shouldn't have anything too heavy against us. Let's have a bit of a look and see what we've got. Yeah, we've got like their commander-in-chief has just got Welsh mercenary longbowmen. So they're actually using longbowmen. Possibly from England, I would think. So they'd be English mercenaries, and the commander-in-chief has decided to move in with those. We've got light archers back in through here, which we actually don't have. We don't have the ability to get those ourselves. So you can see that there's an English influence into what they've actually got. They've got light javelin men like us as well. These are all just the skirmisher line. They've got a big skirmisher line. Going back even further, they've just got peasants and more peasants. So very, very weak. This is going to be extremely easy for us. But they've got more skirmishers. So we're going to need to get our cavalry into the action. So let's move our Ostmen off the line for the cavalry. We can't move that one around. And we'll just move this one up. Now it's actually these are going to be a bit slower than these. I think I'd prefer to have these actually moving through. That one's got troubles anyway. I'm going to move all of these lines up. I won't get them too close because they've got a lot more skirmishes than what we've got. So they're very slow through the rough terrain, but once they get past the rough, they'll be fine. And we want to then make good use of our cavalry to be able to do everything else that we want to do in through here. So these in through this other side, we're just going to go and move all of those Brythonic foot straight forward. Again, we're going to have to catch. It's going to be hard to catch their units. We'll just need our turn there. So Field of Glory 2 Medieval is an incredible tabletop simulator. It really there's a lot of research done with the units to make them historically accurate and to actually work in historical sort of ways. So it is it's pretty cool what they do. Now I don't want to have too many pushing that way. Let's just move that one across. We may still be able to move a little bit. I'm just going to push these around the outside. Facing is incredibly important in this game. If you can do it, actually we can face that one. Yep, so they're now moving much more effectively. And I don't think we're going to be able to change the facing on that one. No, we can't. So now these, because they're heavy infantry, undrilled heavy foot, are very, very hard to manoeuvre. So we'll just keep on sort of moving them through. Again, we're facing the wrong way there. Move all of those up together. I'm not going to move them really much further forward. I'll leave them in the rough on that hill. Bring all of those across. All right, we'll end our turn there. Here they come. They're in the rough. Not going to matter much. Those archers are now firing from distance. Now we really the prize is getting through to here. If we can lock them down, that would be good. Now we've been disrupted. That's likely to happen. Okay. If I attack, yeah, we're going to lose that one, of course. If I attack this one here, we do get a win. And again, if I can lock them in, it means I'm going to be able to catch them. So let's just try it. They're evading, and we've now sort of moved down into there. Once they've evaded once, they can't really do much else. But this is now going to mean that we're going to end up having... They're going to evade, and we'll be sort of tracking back through. We're going to evade, we're going to be sort of chasing down. Just keep on sort of chasing in as much as we possibly can with these units. So against these little skirmishes, they're just not going to be able to compete. Keep these moving up. Let's just keep on pushing them into a... Oh, there we go. We've now caught this group. I'm going to leave this group back where it was, because these still need to catch up. So it's going to take us a little bit of time before we can actually reach that one. And the goal is really just to get them to run away more than, to completely destroy anything. But having our cavalry, the cavalry is going to be able to really dominate areas in through here. If we didn't have the cavalry, what we would end up finding is that we'd end up being very unmanoeuvrable in this sort of terrain, with skirmishers really just peppering away at our forces. It would be difficult for us to fight back. Have we done everything? No, we haven't. Just press tab and just go through. I want to just keep this one where it is. Actually, I might even move that off to the side. And hopefully it will then just get over its disruption. So moving into the forest. I'll take a bit of damage here. Decisive, but that's okay. Now, manoeuvring the cavalry is not going to be great, but we can still just sort of start to push in. I just need to get in behind everything. And we're going to charge. No, we're not, but we're in a good position for next turn. Now, that one already ran, so that really can't run away anymore. So it's now going to be smashed by the cavalry. It's now fragmented. And that's a good start. So we're going to be able to start to roll these things up. I'll just turn those. Start to sort of do damage there. Nothing much really happening on that one. In this case, yeah, we should be okay with this. I think we'll just we can win that one. It's a rear attack. We caught up with it because it couldn't go anywhere. That's why I chose that one and not this one here, because that one can just run straight back. So it had a clearer area. This one has now come good. Start to put pressure on. So the cavalry will sort of be able to catch a lot of the forces that we sort of are seeing. Across. These aren't going to have much bearing. I might change the general across to one of the other slots. I can get to there. So the general can sort of move away from these Ostmen and across into these Brythonic foots. So we'll transfer the general across. We can do that with certain of them. We can't do these, but this is all part of the one big group. So still at our commander-in-chief is here. So this is... we have to be a little bit careful of these, but in this case, there's just nothing that's going to be able to really compete with us. Yep, they're all done. Okay, that'll do us. So they're fighting from the forest. We've been disrupted there. I don't have to worry too much about my cavalry. In most cases we would have to, but in this case we're going to smash these. They're broken. And we just keep on charging through. And so we're now getting into they're broken as well. That's been disrupted because that one broke. So there's now a bit of a roll-on effect. Alright, so let's now charge into the side of this one. Flank attack, disrupted, impact, and fragmented. So it's going to be destroyed. We might as well run this one now down this way because we're then going to be able to catch it. And we actually caught up with it anyway. And that one can also just keep on moving through. We've got this one as well, which can now hit this one in the flank. It's evading, but we're in a good position there now. I think I'm going to come back and help this other one. Let's position that one deeper in the territory. That one's going to move back into the forests, but I'll just keep on doing this. That was a good attack. Move that one forward. It's broken straight away, and we chase it down, and we catch up with it again. So this is good. The cavalry are now all set up. And again, we can smash this one. It's broken, and we're going to be charging straight into the next group as well. Charge into the peasants. They've been disrupted straight away. So we're now just crashing through the enemy terrain. There's the general. These their general will be able to do a little bit of work against us. We'll start to sort of process that. Okay, that's all done. Press tab. We've still got this one here. I'm going to move that one back, just away from the action. I want to save as many of my forces as possible, like in terms of their effectiveness. You'll see when we get back, everything we do, it relates back to hits and effectiveness. And at the moment, the things that we've got, this is effectiveness that's been impacted. We haven't lost too many forces, so it's not really hit points. They shouldn't really be able to compete against our cavalry. Yeah, the charging is where we do the most impact against the peasants. So that now can't run any further. And fragment it straight away. Just have to get this up to 40. So getting that one away. And we're not going to be able to quite reach it. In. Now we have this attacking through here. We have a win, but if I press Control, we can then see all of the factors that impact this one through here. We are attacking into a wooded area, and so again we really couldn't use heavy troops to do this one. But with what we actually end up having in the impact phase, we do pretty well. We do get moderately disordered by doing this attack. There's a good chance they're also moderately disordered because they're actually in there as well. Neither force fights really all that well inside this sort of terrain. So we'll just we will actually move this one, and we get a chance to hit this one as well. I'm going to take, if I take whichever angle I come in with first, should change the angle, so it should face here, which means that this will then have a flanking shot next turn. If I attack with that one, it'll stay on that corner there. I think that's how this will then work. So I can attack it. No, I can't even actually reach it with the others. But but I want to actually twist it so that we end up getting a flanking shot there next turn. So impact. Just go and do that. Charge. These are not light troops, so it's indecisive. And what we'll sort of see, if I can scroll this one around, ultimately we'll see a dotted line there. Now I can attack it, but that will then give me a dotted line there, which I don't know if that will then make it so that I end up with a... I'm better off just leaving where I am. And then next turn get the flanking shot coming back in. because that will then make sure that it drops its cohesion. In this case, we're just going to go and charging. Now, even though we charge from the flank, we're still starting from the front of this unit. They can see there the little arrows. So if we started from the flank or behind it, we'd get a flanking shot, but it's still going to be a massive charge. We don't get the flanking shot though. We get high impact and it's broken straight away. We charge straight into these next lot of peasants, I would imagine. I know we're following the other ones back through. So they're now starting to fragment. They've actually now got the win already. And this one here was working with those, so we can't change direction with those, but we can use this to charge into these peasants. You can see there that we either win or draw. We don't. There's no losses for us in here. It's very simple using these cavalry against such poor troops. And I really don't have to do anything else because this is all just going to do its thing. I'll just end my turn here because it's really got nothing else it can do. So you can see there that the terrain sort of reflects, the hilly sort of terrain that we would expect in the Kingdoms map. We've got the flank charge, fragmented, broken, it's gone, and caught up with it again. Take a little bit of damage there, which may give us like an effectiveness hit when we get back to Kingdoms. But I'll play this battle out in Kingdoms as well, so you can see the difference. My preference is to play it out this way. Yeah, that should break as well. Yep, we're up to 67%. Forces are broken. As soon as it's our turn, it'll be game over. There we go. The enemy has lost heart, you're victorious. There we go. So that's good. We can claim this as a glorious victory. Just close that one off. So we lost 4% of our forces. So we lost 108 men. Thanks, RNG's giving us a clap. It was always going to be an easy win, but the composition has a big bearing on what actually happens in the battles. So do you want to close Fog 2 Medieval and launch Kingdoms? It's so clean now. So we just go yes. It then closes Medieval and then reopens Kingdoms. And when we come back into Kingdoms, we then actually have this one in through here. Import the most recent Field of Glory 2 Medieval battle result and continue with the Kingdom scenario. So when we go and click on that one, it then comes through and starts to just keep on replaying the actual turn. Now I hope I can still go back to where I was to show the same battle in the auto battler. So this is actually the result of that auto battler, and what we'll see is we did lose a bit of effectiveness with our light javelinmen. See how the effectiveness has gone from, it's got one hit point, which is what it always had, and 2 effectiveness. So it did lose effectiveness there through some of those. These were fine; they weren't in the battle. Noble cavalry actually, that one lost 1 effectiveness. They're fine, they weren't in the battle. So it was this is actually now the results, and we pretty much then wiped out the peasants. There was one lot of peasants in through there where their effectiveness drops. Anyway, that's sort of where we are. I'll just quit out of that one, and it just continues with the actual process. I'll see if we can go back to play that turn again. You can see there that our actual numbers have dropped from 101 down to 94 around the actual army that we've got there. And we actually, we've now gone into the top tier, so we've got a chance to sort of start to progress. So we've hit the progress tier. We're not actually progressing as such, but we're actually in that top tier. Now, what we need to now do, can we load it in? Let's just see if we can load in the actual result. Pre-battle turn 3. So this is the actual. Wow, we played 3 turns, guys, in 2 and a bit hours. But let's actually look at the same one. If we just go and load this one back in, this is the pre-battle. so I can actually show you how the system actually uses it. So the game is designed to be standalone, and this is actually where so it's a standalone game, but can be played in the tabletop system. So here we are in through here. Let's go and have a look at the battle, and I'll explain how battles work as well. So this is the same battle, but now done inside this system. You don't have to play it. You don't have to have medieval to play the game, but it is an auto battler. It's very fast, so much faster than the other one. So this is what we see through here. We don't have all the little extras that we had there before, but I can now start to explain how frontages and how those sorts of aspects sort of then work in the game itself. So when we have a look at it, we've got Morgwig in through here, which is a hill terrain. We saw before it had a frontage of 10 with 8 and 2 flankers. And so in this case, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, with the 2 little areas on this side there for flanking. So that's sort of where they actually are. In our case, neither force has got enough to warrant having the flankers. And then as we sort of have a look at the actual units that are then being used, we actually have some light archers back into here, light javelinmen. There's the peasant militia, so they've just raised those militia to sort of help in the fighting. More javelin men through here. These are all skirmishers. Actually, there's the mercenary longbowmen that they've got that they also had in the actual fight. These are considered, actually, they must be, can we see what they actually are? Not sure. I thought that, yeah, they would still be support units, but fairly powerful support units. Now, it's played in a series of different sort of phases. So we have the first phase is going to be the ranged phase. Now, they've got a lot of range units. We've only got the 5. We only kept those 5. And then we've got our front line Brythonic foot. In the middle there, we've got the Ostmen. On the flank, we've got the noble cavalry and the armoured noble cavalry. So that's sort of how we've got our flank arranged. If we had extra core troops, we would be fleshed out even further, and that would then suck their forces out onto the flanks. That would be sort of how that would then go and work. Let's just start the battle. So we now have the ranged phase, and the way it works is we've only got 5 units that are going to be attacking, their units. They've got all of their units except for, actually, even the peasants. It's showing that they've got an ability to actually use. They've got a very low combat rating. They've got a 2 combat rating of the peasants, so they can maybe got slings or something like that inside what they actually have. So all of their units will have a shot at shooting at us. Now you'll notice that we spoke before about hits and effectiveness, and that's sort of the combination being sort of like hit points. And so the armoured noble cavalry has essentially got a total of 8, like 4 hits, 4 effectiveness. And you'll notice that they're really only targeting our core troops. So we've got 3 and 3 and through there. We've got, these are all going to be targeted because of the crosshairs. They've got 2 hits, 3 effectiveness for the Brythonic foot. Let's just see what actually happens. This is all played out at the same time. It's a bit random, but it's mainly to get the effectiveness down. Now you can see there that we ended up with exhausted back in through this other side, fresh in this side. They're exhausted. You can see there the effectiveness has gone down to 0 on that unit, and similarly back over through here, effectiveness on these Brythonic foot have gone down to 0 as well. The armoured noble cavalry back into this other side has got the lost 2 effectiveness, so that's actually been hit fairly hard, and then lost 1. That one did lose 1, but it's still strong. The rest of them weren't impacted by the attack. Now we go into the combat phase of the game. So we got it's a hill, so it's got a defence of 1. So the width is dictated by the terrain you're into, but so does things like this extra defence. Now the way it works is we've got a general that's coming in, and he has got an attack of 2 and a defence of 1. He's attacking, which means he has 2 extra general dice in through here, and so he's going to be rolling those 10-sided dice as well, and we choose the highest number from these rolls in through here. They don't have a general, and so in this case there's only 1 that's going to be re-rolled. They're only going to have 1 die roll out of 10, and then it's just a matter of how do they compare? What's their combat rating? And so the combat rating here has got peasant militia. There's only got a 2 combat rating. They do actually have 2 support bonus because the mercenary longbowman in behind it. This is where support helps. So having the extra support for your frontline troops adds to their combat rating. So he has two natively, 2 from the support bonus from the longbowmen, and they also get the 1 because they're fighting in the hills. They're defending in the hills. And so in this case, they've got a total of 5, and we have 9. We've got 8 back and through here, but our guys only give 1 extra support. So support 1 of 1 of 3, or 1/3 of 1 of 3, I think, of ranged attack rating. In this case, through here, it's got a combat rating of 4, total ranking support. Yeah, support 1/3 of ranged attack rating, limited to support unit rating of 2. So it's just got a limited support through there. That one's down to 1, I think. No, total rating of 2. Anyway, let's just go forward with this one through here. So they will now roll the dice. We've scored 14. Now, see how it's got 2 and 3 little numbers? It disappears straight away. What happened there is they actually rolled a 9. So their total was 14. We rolled, we had a 9. We rolled a 4, a 3, which would have actually been pretty bad for us, but we also rolled a 10, and so we've got the 19. Now that's 5 more than what they had. You saw that there was there was 2 red numbers and 3 green numbers or yellow numbers. That was the hits. That was against their hits and against their effectiveness, but they only had a total of 2 anyway, or 1 anyway, of only 1 hit and 1 effectiveness. So we smashed them by 5, where we only really needed to smash them by 2 to get the kill. So they've been completely destroyed. All right, so we now go to the next one. So, and we just roll through the list and through here. This one's a 4, like 3. They've got no support in behind because of the frontage. We do have support behind ours. They've got 3 combat rating versus 5 combat rating. This, by the way, is the effectiveness and hits in through here as well. Effectiveness and hits. They get the +1, so they've got a total of 4. We've got +1 support from the javelin men in behind us, so we get a total of 6. Plus we have the extra rolls. So if we just do the roll, again we hit hard, like we got 5 more than what they had, so that was a massive smash. Now if they're skirmisher type units, they do have an ability to tweak some dice. We may see that in this next one. So the next one is we've actually got, these are exhausted, so they've actually got an effectiveness of 0. And so in this case, what we've got is we've got the 3 + 1 with the terrain. We've got the 5 -2 because we're exhausted. We've got nothing else in through there. +1 support bonus, but we do actually have the 2 extra die rolls because of the general. So it's fairly intricate but quick the way it sort of does work. So with the die rolls, we should be okay. No, we're not. In this case, we got smashed by 6. This is only light javelin men, but by the die roll, they actually end up wiping out that group of Brythonic foot. So that medium force is really, that was a real anomaly. That just shouldn't sort of happen. So this is all AI. This is all just random. This is sort of essentially as die rolls, randomly done. They rolled a 10, we rolled a 3 and a 2 and a 4. So we ended up adding the 4, we got 8, but they were 6 ahead, which means that we only had 2 hit points left. So we got smashed there. Now we go into things that we will win easily. So we've got the 8 combat rating. We don't have any support, but anyway, that'll be fine. Just go forward. Big attack. So it's been wiped out. We now go the other side with the other Ostman. Again, big attacks in through there. So what we see there, 3 and 4, it goes from effectiveness to hit to effectiveness to hit, and sort of flips back until things are wiped out. That's sort of how it works with the numbers. It actually works very, very well when you look at the differences. And we shouldn't have any real problems through here. This one's exhausted. So all we have to do is just win this one. Yep, so we've got good rolls everywhere else. And then we've got, again, just going up against some light archers, very, very weak. They've only got like a peasant militia has got a 3. We do actually have other bonuses as well, so we'll just come smashing through. They've been destroyed. Now, over the course of the battle, it can be fairly even, or you can be losing, or whatever it might be. In this case, we've decimated them, except we lost 1 of our units. And so we're going to now have the option, or it won't be the option, but it will now chase down the rest of them. Let's go to pursuit. And we destroyed everything, ultimately, in that one through there. So we just go and we won the battle. We just go and view the report. And so in this case, we actually lost one of our Brythonic foot, and we killed all of theirs. So it's similar sort of things to what we sort of see, but in this case, it's just played differently. So we win the battle there. Now, I can cheat a little bit here and bring back my, my other result. So still processing the turn. There may be sort of more random things that do actually happen in the game. So still back up into there. Yeah, witchcraft at places, beam slam. Instead of saying that's one reason I rarely use the order result. I just enjoy the other battles, to be honest. It's we're progressing. It's fine. What I'll do is I can always just go back and say, no, like I'm going to go back and load back in. I've got the pre-battle stuff in through there. I can go back out to the when I exit the game. I'll just move back to the main menu because I can still load that result in. So again, it's telling me import the most recent. So if we need to just go back and do it, it'll bring back in the game that it had exported back out. And so if I go and bring that one in, I then go back to what we were. But there still may be some random things happening in that WeGo type system. So we'll just bring that one back in. Yeah, so let me know if, like, I have spent a lot of time explaining things. You know, I don't know if that's helpful or whether you prefer to just sort of see, like, you know, 20, 30 years of history played out. So in this case, we're a little bit better off. So I will actually just move that one back out of the way and let it progress back through. Because you can play it fast, but I prefer to play it a bit more in depth and just try to get a bit more of a feel for what's going on with the game. But in this case, we're doing pretty well. All right, so we've now got 5 domains. Now, the interesting thing, and I'll just sort of start to wrap up, but so we now actually have this particular location. Now, we do actually have a battle has been fought at Morganwig between Wales and the Celtic independence. Marching forth as Knights of Wales, we've subdued Morganwig and seized it from the clutches of the Celtic independence. So we don't have to do a siege. Sometimes, like, there's no. You can see that some of these have got like little walls around the cities, and some don't. So when we see walls, it essentially means we're going to have to besiege it to bring it down. In this case, we would just manage to sort of deal with the garrison and the troops together. Like there was, I think, a garrison of 3 and the troop of 10 or whatever it was gave us the 13 that we had to then go and fight against. I think that's how, whichever way it worked anyway. Certainly it didn't have much defences left. So we can just see a few of these things. Battle was fought. Yep, that's just the battle summary. The marching forth. Yep, blah, blah, blah. And we've got to recruit non-standard units has now come back through as another one if we want to recruit it. But we now have to be aware, what do we need our army for? Do we need to really be using the army in any sort of real effective way? We could possibly go back to our levies and just say, okay, look, the war's over now, like from what we needed you for. We could stand down some of those levies. And if we have a look at the actual army itself, I don't know if we'll see any that are actually leveled up. You see, like in this case, if we just press Control, 7 of 10. So don't have quite enough experience there to level up, but we're getting close. See how these are, because these are levies, their experience, it's so much harder for them to get the experience to level up. So they're level 0, but a long way off leveling up, and these other ones as well will be the same. This is the other standing unit. There's only 4 of 10 experience that was played out in that particular one. So they're a little bit sort of lower with what does go on. But we could decide with what we have, we could think, okay, look, let's... We've got one there that's where the effectiveness is low. It's only 1 of 3rd. We have to just rest it, essentially, and will it get its effectiveness and hit points back. That does come out of the manpower a little bit sometimes, depending on what we need to then go and do. So if we wanted to build up our manpower And we can see that we can have only a total of 175 anyway. So we're sort of almost at maximum. So I might as well just keep what we've got rather than actually sort of send them off. Beam saying you may send some of the levies home for now. Yeah, you could. But in this case, I'm actually happy enough with my gold income. I'm only losing 6. So I'm thinking I'm going to keep this army together. So rather than actually get rid of a lot of these units, I'm not really losing anything. We've got very, very good manpower, which means that we sort of, we're going to get to that 175 very, very quickly. And so it's not really going to matter that much. So I could send the levies back home, but I don't have to. And in this case, I'm not struggling, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it where it actually is. Just need to leave it, leave them to rest to sort of get their turns back up a little bit. But that's sort of how the army composition has now worked to make it so much more effective with these frontline troops and just some limited support. But ultimately, we could sort of bring in more support if we had to. So that's sort of how they both work in both combat systems. In terms of like what we've actually now got through here, if we go back into our domain overlays, we now see that we control 2 of these. So we now have we now actually have the majority back and through here, which means we can actually now go and add. We don't actually have a dual bath back and through this other side. Morganwind is actually set as the actual domain capital in this instance. So this is sort of where this will be the administrative centre for this location. We can get the mercenary Ostmen from there. If we go back into there, they're going to have the same mercenary Ostmen. Each province will have a different type of. We can't really sort of see it through there, but anyway, this one here, just go and click on that one again. So we can bring another administrator in to actually then start to look after things. We don't have to, just bringing them in anyway will help with a lot of different things to do with the kingdom. So we've already got one that's now, we've got our brother who was already involved. I want high administration. Now this is actually our general. Yeah, leading the Welsh army. He's a 5. We've got a 513 there. Unknown loyalty. This is he's not got no royal lineage. Tactician, attack bonus. This is if he's actually attacking, but only open in open terrain. That's probably our best bet. Actually, is that one there? So I'll just go and place him in there. So he is actually now going to be managing this area for us. And again, I can just say, okay, look, you can control, the split of the forces. Let's just go balanced. Powies has now been sort of sent back to do more of the more gold income. So our gold is now plus 53. Wood cutting is still coming back in. I can just go back into this area and choose another building in here, for myself. Another anchorage potentially would be good actually if I just hover over that one. Gives us money. It allows us to load armies and move armies around. And these have got like a progression system as well. I might just choose something. What else have we got? We've got pigsty, which will give us more livestock. We've got stone quarry, which will give us infrastructure. These can already be imported from Powies anyway. The anchorage is probably a good one. The local watch does chew up manpower, needs wool. Trading is required, but we can get that one from Gwynedd, from our capital. Garrison goes up, requires 3 population or more. We've got the population of 7. Acts as strength 10 garrison to repel raids. Village people, there we go. Regional loyalty bonus of 5. We do actually also then have the monumental cross, piety of 10. Don't really need piety in this region until we start to see heretics. Freeman cottages in through here. Health goes up a long way. Actually, we get money goes down, including a bonus of 3 from horses. The horses are coming from next door. Actually, is where the horses are. I saw that the horses were there. This one is going to. We are getting a missing bonus of 3 money from tools. We need tiles and bricks, so trading would be required. Yeah, so money's going to be down because of that tiles and bricks. Coin houses, a health bonus of 6%. We haven't focused on health, actually. I've gone over time, but I think I might just finish off with a little bit of a show you how health is sort of working around the place. Because we can look at the whole world. Well, not the whole world, but the whole world in the game. It's a chance for a new population to be a peasant, decreased by 25%. So this one will actually give us a chance to get more freemen, which is actually not a bad thing. I'm thinking of going that way. It's just that money situation is the only real negative. You know, I think I will. I think I'm going to go the Freeman cottages. This is sort of where where you can start to build up like a specific type of even, like in this case, we're going to be trying to get more freemen, which can do a little bit more things. So let's go with that one there, Freeman cottages. That's a nice one to get. It's saying that it's going to take a long time. Maybe because we just took it over. That could be what it actually is. Yeah, so let's just finish off with having a bit of a look at the other health. Again, just sort of reflecting back on those videos. So again, highly recommend that you have a look at those videos. I'll put the link back in again. I think I've still got it saved. So I'll just pop that link in now in the oops, sorry. There we go. These are the videos. They're great. Have a look at them. I like that they're doing this. You know, like it's sort of nice to. Slytherin has always embraced history, you know, in a big way, and it's nice to get this sort of, I guess, this extra content, you know, for those of us that do enjoy the history side of things. Anyway, let's have a look and see health around the place. Now, in one sense, the culture and population overlay is really just the populations themselves. When you've got high population and low health, it becomes an issue. We're not going to see the health issues. It's really sort of showing through there. I'll just go and get rid of that. Just go back to the health in through here. So to see the impact of negative health, or to see actually the way health is working in the game, you can go to this ledger, which is very, very great. The way it sort of does work. You've got like region overview, region populations, all sorts of different things. Now, region populations does actually have a health display here. And Morganwig has actually got a 3%, you know, we've actually got a plus 3% there. Now, remember, the goal is to try to get to about 20 overall once you start to get like high-ish populations. Let's go to all the neutral factions, which is nearly everyone else. And we can then start to, so it brings everything in as a spreadsheet. So when we have something like Baghdad, for example, if we go and click on it, it'll then go into it. I'll just zoom in a little bit and click on it again. So it will then sort of show Baghdad in that region there with 14 population. So it's got a reasonably high population, and it's got -8 health, which means that epidemics are much more likely to actually come from there. So this is Baghdad, and we can see down through there. Why have they got -8? There'll be a whole range of different things. And through this other side, they've got slave workforce. Does that give anything? No, it's got revolt risk. Gardener doesn't do anything. Not sure what what's causing the health problems. Potentially over here, Science Academy. Nope, that should be okay. That shouldn't affect it. Village Green. Not sure what the health is coming from. Just go to population. Health penalty. Yeah, there's a health penalty is low, but feudal city. Yeah, I'm just not seeing the where it's got health. You know, with the negative health. It should be from one of these type of things, but I'm not sure what it actually is. Yeah, there's nothing there. Food, infrastructure, money. See how different it is, though, you know, in the different regions around the world. You know, it's sort of, yeah, I'm not sure where the health is being impacted from this particular one. If we have a look at what I can do is actually just go through and actually sort by health. So I can actually go to health percent. So we'll just do a resort. We'll do a reverse. See what the worst ones actually are. So if we go to the worst one of all is is in Lower Silesia. If you have a look and see what's happening in through there. So Lower Silesia back in there. It's only got 7 population, so it's not dramatic. But negative 16 is pretty poor. So what's affecting that one? We can see immediately there's all these different mines. There's a gold mine there. Health penalty is down the bottom here. There's a 3% health penalty. It does have regional roads, so it's easy for merchants to sort of use them. That won't have any sort of health bonus or health impact. Marble Quarry is actually not affecting health. Craftsman's Burrow is not affecting health. Mining exploitation is not too bad. Crude smelter, another 3% there. The what else would there be? Butchery doesn't affect health. Fortified manor, no. Feudal town, yeah, another 5% there. With this, I think it might have been the towns before actually. So 5% from that side of things. Domain court back and through there is no health problem. Noble's residence, no health problem. But that's so this one in here is like this population is negative 16% is pretty bad. To actually with what is there. It's just there's not a massive population at that location. But it's just interesting to sort of see all the numbers mean things in the game. It really is. Maybe don't cook the sheep. Says Beamslam. Cranky Corbett is saying the medieval city did state it. Okay, cause a health penalty. Okay, yes. Yeah, be sort of impacting it even more. If there's an epidemic, these are the places that are going to be hit in the game. I don't think we'll have, if I just go and do the other side, so if I undo the reverse and then go to the top of the list, you can see there that in Champagne, they've got like a 12%. So they're heading towards the right direction. That will be, so the positive ones will then be impacted by certain things, like we've got a smokehouse. Gives a 7% health bonus into there. Don't think these other ones will do it. The stable won't. The hamlets. No, I'm not seeing it there either. Not exactly sure what else there would be. Food storage. Yeah, there could be other little aspects. It's quite involved. The buildings are really quite involved. With the way it sort of does work. It's sort of one of those things you could sort of spend hours just delving into what's happening in the world, like to sort of see how things are actually sort of then going and working. It's a beautiful game actually, just the depth that it does have. It's so much deeper than any other game that really covers these sorts of history things. It always does get compared to Crusader Kings, and they're very, very different games. Crusader Kings, it doesn't have anywhere near the depth of province development and army development, but does do a lot more with its character development, whereas this is sort of the opposite. It does so much more in provinces, building up things, building up armies, fighting and stuff like that, but not so much in terms of the actual kings and queens, etc. in the game. But it's both great games, but this one is in my opinion really does focus very, very well and models very, very well that area. Anyway, guys, I've gone well and truly over time, so I'm going to leave it there. Hope that was helpful. I would be interested to know if I should be moving faster or if that sort of information is valuable. I'll be doing more of these, maybe. I know that a lot of you follow me on my own channel, so if you maybe just sort of let me know, over the course of the coming days, if you would prefer it to be a little bit faster than what we see through here. Not sure how else, if you're seeing a sort of a recording of this one, maybe just leave it in comments. It would be handy to sort of just know what you guys want. I sort of always err on the side of taking time. Anyway, have a great weekend, and I'll catch you next time.